The Illuminati. The Illuminati created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller, not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
God's had to build my own family. I hate your son. I hate your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
Created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller, not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
God's had to build my own family. I hate your son. I hate your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
Created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
What is up, everybody? This is Silver Spook, and this is the Silver Spook live stream. Hope everybody's doing as well as can be managed on today, the 17th of January, the year of our Lord Bezos or Musk. I can't remember which one is the richest. 2021. So today, the stream is gonna be going and ending a little bit sooner than usual. I'm hoping to get done by 9 Hawaii time. But today, I'm gonna try to not to make it all very dark and depressing, but we are gonna talk a bit about what happens on Inauguration Day. What is not what has happened, obviously what will happen, what might happen, what how it can be described, but what happens on January 20th. It just happens to be, it's not my birthday, but it is one of my birthday stream is going to be happening. So on Twitch at 8 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be doing a stream on that day. It'll probably be after whatever's happened, so it'll more be like commentary on what's already happened that day, because it'll be like midnight, I think, or later Eastern time in the capital. But what is happening? What is afloat? What has already happened since January 6th and the Capitol riots, or the fascist right-wing coup attempt that was at least partially successful? Well, it successfully seized the Capitol. And what does that mean? What does it mean to the world? What does what happens on January 20th mean for the world? What does it mean for America? What could happen? What might happen? So I've been listening to a lot of different sides of this from like all over different parts of the world, and kind of thinking about it in the context of other similar events that have happened. Like yesterday, I've talked before on these streams about I need more water here. I've talked about these events before in the context of Bolivia, or I've talked about Bolivia, what has happened in Bolivia with a United States-backed coup attempt for the extraction of lithium for transnational, multinational corporations, including Tesla, Elon Musk, other Western-based imperialist corporations and countries, including Germany, the Gigafactory, that coup, and the way that plan played out. If you do have a second, I highly recommend checking out there's a Glenn Greenwald Evo Morales interview. Not right now, obviously, but when you do, it's an intercept interview with Evo Morales about how that coup went through, an actual fascist coup that did succeed, and how what happened politically, what happened with the military and the police actually having a schism, and then there actually being a literal, not full, with thousands or millions of people dying civil war, but it was a cold civil war, not the Captain America movie, but it was a rift between the police and the military and factions within the government and throughout the society, actually, and what it was like in that scenario. It's not gonna graft 1-to-1 onto what's happening in the United States, but it is the elements that led up to and resulted in the coup, the political ideological divisions, the cultural economic divisions, the global imperial capitalism and its influences, which are those influences still exist and are in the United States. Is really not. It is different because it is an imperial metropole. It is the mall, or in this case, I guess this is the facade of a democracy, capital, quote unquote, democratic Western liberal capital of what is the Death Star. So it's in the imperial metropole. So that's a little different from being at the fringe in a colony of the United States, like what Bolivia was for a year, at least at that point with that fascist coup, and what countless other Latin American countries, global South, Africa, Middle East, and Asian countries have been and are. The Venezuelan situation with Hugo Chavez in 2000 was also something important. Obviously, Salvador Allende's and the left in Chile, the socialism attempted in Chile, and what happened there. That's another event that has a lot of similarities to what's happening in the United States, but a lot of differences as well. So, yeah, I was thinking I might just like kind of just specifically talk about that for this stream. Musebank says, "What happened on inauguration? What happens on inauguration? We party because Silver's birthday. That is literally nothing else important going on today." Yeah. Also that. Yeah, it is gonna be my birthday celebration. How about the collapse of the U.S. empire and the withdrawal of all aircraft carriers, star destroyers? I'm sorry, battleships, stormtroopers. I'm sorry, Marines, Army, Navy, and Air Force personnel from the illegally occupied sovereign country of Hawaii by the white supremacist hyper-capitalist empire of the United States. That would be a great birthday present to myself, as I often bring up, as a native Hawaiian, trying to decolonize and practice mutually respectful, mutually beneficial, partially automated indigenous anarcho-socialist, worker-owned cooperative production models of cyberpunk anti-capitalist video games like Neofeud and Aloha Aina and Pono and Kuleana. These are Hawaiian words that don't really translate properly into English. Communal living at the Silver Spook, or you call it the Silver Spook Hui. That's another Hawaiian word that basically approximates cooperative. And cooperative housing, cooperative living, where we have no landlords here at the Silver Spook Commune. And it would really help us. It would assist us in our project here at the Silver Spook Commune, as Native Hawaiians, as the Kiai of Mauna Kea, as a Hawaiian people, of indigenous people, trying to practice our sustainable, ecologically sound ways, actually that predate and actually were actually existing socialistic and anarchistic societies. We would love to be able to just have the knee of the United States empire off of our neck. So that's one birthday present. If that was to happen, if that was, I don't think that's actually what's going to happen on January 20th. You know, that would be a great birthday present, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. But if it does, I mean, that would be a nice birthday present for Silver Spook. I will say that. So what's happening though is let me get some of the I was listening to voices like from the United States, left, right, center, Europe, China, Vietnam, Southeast Asia, Latin America. All eyes are definitely on the United States. What they're gonna do, where they're gonna move. People are like, how do we, in the investor class, the billionaire class, what are they doing? Where is their money? So we'll get to all of that. I'll try to get to all of that. But I want to kind of start with this. This is a CNN article. This is how you know it is very serious, because it is very serious. Because you can see the neoliberal elite, the ruling elite, the big capital, big military, all the biggest players on earth, really, which are headquartered in the United States right now. All of Wall Street, right? The military-industrial complex, Raytheon, the CIA, all the alphabet soup agencies of the U.S. empire, all of its allies, Australia, they're all watching, and they're all worried about it, because it is a real threat, you know. And a lot of it is because, like in Bolivia, let me just recount like briefly some of the events that happened in Bolivia. Let me see if I watched the entire. It's a Glenn Greenwald, Evo Morales interview. Very enlightening. In actual enlightenment, not the fictional, pretending like we're all living in a perfect utopian society in Europe. Enlightenment while doing colonization and thinking phrenology is hard, incontrovertible science. That's not actual enlightening. Like you actually learn something. Let's see. Bolivia. Yeah, I don't have it here. But in Bolivia, basically, I bring this up a lot, but I'm gonna just briefly recap it because it does relate. Basically, in 2019, you had the MAS, which is not a traditional party. It is a coalition of movements in Bolivia. The leadership is a committee of leaders of movements: National Campesinos, Rural Workers Confederation, National Indigenous Women's Confederation, 2 or 3 other indigenous groups. Basically, it is a mass-based. A majority of the country, actually, 60% of Bolivia is indigenous. That's an important differentiating factor from what the United States is going through. Bolivia is actually majority indigenous or identifying indigenous, or close to a majority. America is 76% settler colonial white, identifying as a colonizer, basically. And Bolivia also has a white colonizer class that are represented in the fascist Añez party, that are represented and also to a larger extent in the neoliberal, more centrist neoliberal parties. But MAS was representing a mass base, but that's why it is a really important force and an important example in the world, because it was an important successful resistance against imperialism and against capitalism. As Evo Morales said, the president of the MAS party at the time, and who has recently returned to Bolivia after being in exile due to the United States-backed fascist coup. You are not revolutionary if you're not anti-imperialist. But anyway, this MAS party, right, the coalition of social forces, to participate, you have to be part of those movements. This is why MAS hasn't disappeared despite persecution, massacre, arrest, targeting. Is it because it doesn't consist of 1 or 2 leaders with good ideas or good politics? Unlike the United States, which has what? A handful of leaders, thought leaders and political leaders. You got your Bernie Sanders, you've got your AOC, you've got your Ilhan Omar, you've got your handful of leaders that everybody looks up to and worships, and no real mass activated, empowered movement with economic power, control over, agricultural production, industrial production, like thousands or millions of acres of farmland, deeply class conscious, deeply anti-imperialist, solidly in solidarity across rural and city and urban areas. You don't have that, and part of it is because you have a vast majority of America that is a horrific, fascist, capitalist, imperialist, settler colonialist history. That is a deep, sick history of the United States. That makes a lot of difference in the present reality of why America doesn't have a strong, powerful left. Like Black Red Guard has a great series of videos about why is the left so weak in America, and that's a big part of it. I think it's a strong, big part of it. It is the Death Star. America is the stormtrooper training facility. The Harvard is the future Star Destroyer pilot training facility for the empire. And it's really hard to dig, and it has a deep history of an empire, of a racist, capitalist, fascist, colonialist empire. That's a material difference that we have to accept when we look at what is happening on January, what happened on January 6th, what has transpired since then, and what might happen on January 20th, compared to Bolivia. Okay, but that's why the MAS party hasn't disappeared. You can't just say, hey AOC, I said this is how you can destroy the left in America. You say, AOC, your family is starving, your sister needs chemotherapy, and you can't afford $200,000. You got a grandpa dying. You got somebody who is paying off 200K student loans. When your cousin's losing a house, you don't have any money for that. How are you gonna a bunch of you got COVID. You got to help pay for you're gonna lose this mortgage that like a bunch of your family are in. It's gonna fall through. You're gonna have a homeless family because guess what? It's depression. AOC, do you want to survive in America unlike the 4,000 people dying a day from COVID? Do you want to survive in America unlike the 100 million food insecure people that are starving in America? Do you want to survive? Here's $20,000 a month. Here's $50,000 a month. Here's whatever you want. All we need you to do is stop actually pushing for radical left change. Don't push Biden left. Stand Nancy Pelosi and fall in line. It's very easy. I mean, it'll work on most people, and then you have all these thought leaders and then they move over. Bernie Sanders, you just go, I don't know, you just like threaten him with a loss of his Senate seat, and then he folds. That's what he literally said that to Chris Hedges. He said, I just didn't want to lose my position in the United States Senate, and then you don't have a Bernie anymore. And so these kind of like charismatic leaders, I mean, it's fine. What they did is a lot of important work to at least bring some consciousness of, I mean, it's like, hey, stormtroopers, you ever thought about socialism? Oh, I never thought about it. Let me think about that a little bit. Whereas that's much different than the masses of the people. I'm talking about 60% of the population organized, radically anti-imperialist, radically left, and actually in the real world controlling vast swaths of the economic power of the what do you call ammonium fertilizer production, the farming, from cocoa farming to corn farming, agricultural work. You're talking about lithium mining, lithium batteries, nationalization of countless other factories, and all these people are radical, unionized, class conscious, anti-imperialism conscious, indigenous people, right? Evil is an afterthought. It doesn't really matter who it is, right? We can get rid of evil. That doesn't matter, right? You can target our shit. That doesn't matter, right? You're not relying on a charismatic leader giving people a kind of celebrity thought-leading hope. It's kind of like how America just looks up to presidents or candidates every 4 years and goes, "Oh, this time it'll be better," but does nothing. They just sit back, go to their work, don't really unionize that much. Don't really do a lot of tenant organizing. They're not organized. They don't particularly care that much. A lot of reactionary, just fighting to protect themselves. Unfortunately, a little more in the Gen Z and millennial, but not enough. And then it doesn't work out. And then within 2 or 3 months after election, the approval rating of the government crashes to like 10, 30 or less, 40%, and wash, rinse, repeat. Whereas in Bolivia, they actually have actual mass-based, organized, working class, indigenous resistance. So that's a big material difference. And then also economic and military power. I'm talking about huge swaths of the Bolivian military, organized, and there's actually military resistance against transnational corporations, toxic waste dumping in indigenous lands in the rural areas, destroying their forests, destroying their native lands. Literally shooting with fully automatic, not with tear gas, rubber bullets, and pepper balls. I'm talking about shooting indigenous people with paramilitary assault rifle goons. And these are like American, Canadian, German corporations sending in paramilitary forces to murder indigenous people to get them away from the resource that they want, whether that's lithium, whether that's whatever mineral resource, farm product. They just go murder. Same thing in Paraguay. I was talking to a Paraguayan cyberpunk game developer, Santo Ojeda. I might be getting your name wrong. I'm sorry. Creator of 1870 Cyberpunk Forever, and they were saying that's what happens in Paraguay. They just come and they murder us, and terrorize us, kill us. Nothing happens. International outcry doesn't matter. The UN, most of the international community is all in lockstep with the U.S. empire. They're scared of it, with the exception of some aspects of rival powers in the current Thucydides trap of the rising and falling superpowers. But that's the situation for the indigenous people, and so that creates a radical solidarity, which is a little similar in some ways to the Native Hawaiians, who there's a big chunk of 30, 40, 50% of people that are part Hawaiian, identify as Hawaiian, or deep solidarity with the Hawaiians. It's a big chunk of the population. So there's that. That's what you're seeing in the background here. So it's still a different material reality in a lot of other ways. Hawaii is in the eyes of the United States illegal state. Hawaii is a U.S. state, right? In our eyes, we're like, this is an illegal occupation, ongoing illegal colonial exploitation and genocide of our culture and people, and banning of Hawaiian language, such as arresting Native Hawaiians for speaking Hawaiian in courtrooms, like in 2018 when a Hawaiian professor, Kalakaua Ka'eo, was arrested for speaking Hawaiian in Hawaii in a courtroom. So that's one similarity between Hawaii and Bolivia. But back to this kind of story. So that's the kind of backdrop for what's in Bolivia with the Mas. They still exist. They haven't gone away. You can't just and if you can't bribe one of the leaders of American left, you can just threaten them. You can use a carrot or a stick. Here, have lots of money, or don't. You know what? Look what happened to Epstein. He's a billionaire. He's infinitely more powerful than you. He had security teams. He's dead. Don't mess with us. Don't mess with the biggest. Don't mess with Emperor Palpatine and the the neoliberal cartels of planet Earth that routinely kill millions of children around the world. We kill children on a daily basis to make another yacht payment and buy another private island, with Cayman Island bank accounts. Don't think we won't. Don't think it's beyond us. Look what happened to Joe Cox in Britain. Look what happened to random DNC staffers. You know, just, I mean, it's weird what happens to people. It's just weird what happens. I mean, you don't have to do anything. You just say, it would be unfortunate if something were to happen to, I don't know, AOC, somebody in your family. Bernie Sanders, you got nieces and nephews, you got children. It would be unfortunate. It's not that hard to get people to fall in line. Of course, Bernie's going to fall in line. There's no mass, but if you have millions, if you have 200 million Americans going, we are not going to stand for this disgusting, you know, like neo-feudal, like just abysmal, horrific inequality, exploitation, racism, oppression of minorities, this empire, this planetary murder for profit of and extraction of resources from the rest of the world. We are not going to stand. If you have 200 million Americans rise up, then they can't just target one person and go, hey, here's $20,000. Oh, hey, we're going to whack you. Then you have 200 million people going, it doesn't work anymore, right? That's what happened in Bolivia. But America doesn't have that. America has a good amount of people a good percentage that are trying their best. Most of them are younger, Gen Z, millennial age. A lot of indigenous people, a lot of the Black Lives Matter community, right? They're trying, they're kind of moving, but it's not organized enough. They're not powerful enough, not yet. I mean, I'm not saying that they can't. I hope that America can figure out a way to decolonize. I'm hoping that America can deprogram itself from its imperial stormtrooper mentality. It's stormtrooper with bootstrap cowboy characteristics. It's settler colonial stormtrooper wannabe Gordon Gekko temporary embarrassed millionaire characteristics. But America's not there yet. It's going to be a lot of hard work for hundreds of millions of people, and it's going to be a lot of listening to indigenous people and people of color, internally colonized people, to figure out what you're not going to be. What do you become when you're not a stormtrooper, right? See, people, this is an important point. I'm just going to brief, this is a lot of tangents, I know, but in episode 9, there's that people, you know, when they're on that island, that planet where it's like 700 foot tall waves that are like, because of weird gravity, that are like breaking on the cliffs, where Kylo Ren and Rey are having an epic, you know, neon green versus crimson red, good versus evil lightsaber battle, as one does in Star Wars. An epic, you know, Neo space samurai, you know, Kurosawa-esque sword fights. You know, on that planet, there are imperial stormtroopers. They're like riding on horses, there are people like come and they're riding on horses, and most of them are black and brown, or they're not white. Not all of them are non-white, but a lot of them are. And they say we used to be stormtroopers. We were part of the empire, you know. We used to come down with our blasters, invade planets, right? Blow up planets, suck all the resources in. I think in Star Wars, coaxium or you know, tritium or tachyons, or I can't remember what exactly it is. Neodymium, handwavium. Who cares, right? So the empire would come to planets, overthrow governments, destroy and invade. Kill everyone, bomb it into the Stone Age, take over the planet, suck all the resources out. Like what the United States is the empire. You know, I think George Lucas, some backstory that all gets paved over because George Lucas is now a multi-hundred millionaire and he's all down with the empire, is that he initially based it on the Vietnam War and the resistance of the Vietnamese communists against international imperial capitalism of the United States. The United States being the empire, obviously. Right? You look at Star Destroyers; they look so much like United States battleships. You know, they look like the USS John F. Kennedy. They have the giant radar apparatus on the top. It's like a space United States battleship. Anyways, so but that all gets lost because, you know, now Star Wars is some red pill reactionary fandom nonsense, fandom menace crap. But anyways, a lot of it, unfortunately. But so you have like this. You know, and so, but the stormtroopers, right, are not, and they come and they talk to the I forget the rebels, right, and or is it Poe and not the rebels? They're talking to the protagonist, and they're like, we used to be stormtroopers, but you know, we have defected. You know, we're no longer part of it. You know, we have renounced it. We are. You know, we are our people again. You know, and so it's not impossible for stormtroopers to become not stormtroopers. And most people in the Empire, right, they're actually, you know, they were formerly You know, they were not. When you're born, you're not born. You know, when human beings are born, your identity and your culture and everything else is imprinted in you through all of your life and all of your experiences. What your mother, your father, your sister, what you learn in school, in your society that you're in, your culture, the movies that you watch, the TV that you watch. That's what imprints your identity into you. It is not impossible to disidentify with things. You know, people change throughout their life. Teenagers are like, you know, finding yourself. But I mean, but that goes for nationality as well. That goes for nationality. That goes for ideological attachments to white supremacy. That goes for all these things. It is not impossible. It is just extremely difficult, particularly in the context of a superpower like the United States and its white supremacy, and its economic incentives, its perverse incentives, its cultural incentives, its imperial hegemony from mainstream media, social media. It makes it hard. You being in a rural area surrounded by Trump supporters, that makes it hard to disidentify and to decolonize and to deprogram your stormtrooper in your head and your racist in your head and your whiteness in your head and all that kind of stuff. But it's not impossible. Like in an absolute kind of like, you know, biological sense, right? So anyway, that's I'm kind of off. I'm off on a tangent though. So let me get back to it. But anyway, long story short, it does help, right? If you're an indigenous person or you're a person of color, you're starting outside the empire. You're like, well, I mean, America, if you're black, you're like, America has never treated me well. America has always treated me as a non-person or as a slave or as an enemy. As Black Red Guard, Black Red Guard often says, like, when white people see black people, they see gravedigger, they see enemy, they see somebody who's gonna come. That's why when land back, Black Lives Matter, you know, not fucking around coalition comes up, the majority of the white American population and the Europeans also jump straight to land back is ethno state. Oh, Black Panther, that's an ethno state. The black people just want to do a genocide. They're gonna kill all the white people or put the white people in chains. That's immediately, definitely where Republicans, QAnon, right wing, the anarcho-capitalist, libertarian, they jump immediately to, you know, the fascists. They jump immediately to, oh, land back, that means an ethno state. That means they're gonna just kill and enslave all the white people. Like, they're gonna do what we did to them, which is not true. Land back is not about changing control of land. It's about ending control of land, and it's about living ecologically, living in aloha aina, living in pono, living with mutual respect with the land and with other human beings, and understanding interconnected. This is not about changing control, but that's what immediately stormtroopers, the white population of the settler colonial places project onto black and brown, and so that puts a lot of indigenous people and black and brown people and non-white people's it's less of an uphill battle to get to radical anti-imperial revolutionary socialist communist solidarity, because you're already on the outside, right? But if you are benefiting from the empire as a white person, as a middle class white person, even worse, upper middle class white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, even worse, right? It makes it a lot harder to fight against that. You know, if you have a cushy job, you know, having like your Starbucks run to you by a black or brown person, working in an office, you know, 3 hours a day, and then, you know, making six figures, and all your family and friends are all, liberal or Republican, Trump supporters, or at best Biden supporters, you know, and you're just living high on the hog from this global imperialism with cheap phones. You don't want to work. You don't want to mechanically separate chicken. You like it when Mexicans do that. You don't want to, you know, and they say things like, oh, who do want to be a McDonald's fast food worker? I don't want them making $15 an hour because I don't want them to get closer to me. That's too much. 16-year-olds shouldn't make $15. Hey, 16-year-olds, if they have to work full time, they need to get the ways that they need to get. Also, all of the 80s was just about reinstating child labor and doing human rights abuses. And that entire, it's cute for teenagers to get jobs, it's just about doing human rights abuses. Anyways, and also underpaying masses of people and equating fast food or restaurant workers with children who don't need to make a lot of money. And there's a lot of racist and sexist overtones to all this. I'm not going to go too far into that. But if you are surrounded by a society, upper class, liberal, a lot of the January 6th attackers were upper middle class, actually, right? It's much harder to get to a place of radical solidarity because you're doing too well in the empire. You know, I like it when the Star Destroyer blows up all the Ewoks and sucks all of the lithium out. That goes into my iPhone and I get it for cheap. And I like extracting resources from the rest of the world and then getting it for cheap and having my cheap sweatshops and my cheap Persian labor, do all my tech support and make all my license plates. I don't want to make license plates. I don't want to do tech support. I like it when they do it. Also, I like the privilege of being white and not being and being able to call up anybody and Get the black people out of my neighborhood when I want. Oh, there's a black person getting out of a car. Maybe they stole a purse. I don't want them around. I don't want them away. I'll get them away from the good, hardworking Americans. And there's a lot of privilege, right? It's great to be a stormtrooper, a Empire captain, an Imperial, Star Destroyer. I imagine that the Star Destroyer pilots that actually fire the ion cannons that eradicate all of the Tatooinians, the villages, just like burn them to a crisp. I imagine that they make $250,000 a year, and they work for Raytheon, and it's really cushy, nice. You can go on junkets to, orbital Hawaii, Neo Waikiki, in space, play some 0G golf, So they probably live very nice lives, and a lot of them are not actually going to be on the Star Destroyer. They're going to be like off in a nice planet, pretending like the Empire has a Western liberal democracy, and then just like, but benefiting and participating in the global imperialism and the suffering of the global, galactic imperialism, capitalism, murder, death, and destruction, and exploitation and colonization, right? So that just makes it harder, not impossible, just makes it harder for existing, very wealthy, very privileged stormtrooper and Captain Phasmas to leave and to fight against their own empire, right? Also, their family is deeply connected. It's hard to go against your own mom and dad and your family, especially if you like them. Now, some people don't like their family, right? And then the black sheep, if you're a black sheep of the family that hates your family disown you because you're trans. I'm not saying that makes you radical immediately, not necessarily, right? But it you lose a lot of privileges, right? If you become trans in America and you're out trans, you lose a lot of privileges. You don't immediately get good jobs. You don't immediately get high pay, or it makes it a lot harder to get a good high-paying job. The police don't look at you the same way. Your family don't look at you the same way. The culture, the bosses, employers, colleges, teachers, friends, just any stranger on the street, they don't look at you the same way, do you? They look at you differently. And then what is that? That puts you on the outside of the empire a little bit. Not fully. If you're a white trans, you still have some connection, but you lose a lot of the benefits of the empire, and then so it becomes easier to deconstruct your identity as a American, liberal, conservative, whatever you were before, patriotic American, blah 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 blah, proudly white person, you wouldn't necessarily think, but you work and identify, and you subconsciously or consciously like benefiting from the white privilege, and suddenly, it's a material reality that changes based on your life conditions. That's just an example of, and it does explain a lot of why there's a greater proportion and people who are still cis straight white dudes who are middle class, like I don't know, Destiny. I don't know what Vosh is, but I'm pretty sure Destiny. They don't have as deep of a radical empathy and a radical deconstruction of their Americanness yet. Or they identify with their empire. They don't recognize it fully. And why would they? They're too busy making a lot of money on Twitch or on YouTube. It's a great deal. You don't get shut down because why? You're right in for Biden, right? You're saying good. In Black Lives Matter and Kenosha shooter, you're standing the empire, right, and its white supremacy. But now it's a little bit awkward, right? Because now it's like, oh, I don't know if I should stand these fascists because the empire is actually having some problems with them, with the Trump supporters in January 6th. That's now I don't know, but as long as you do the work of the empire, promoting white supremacy, promoting imperialism to an extent, you do all right. Anyways, but let me move forward from this. Also, how's it anti-American? What is happening, comrade internet? They're all fucking proud of their ignorance. Normies are worthless fucking monster manual entries. Yeah. So let me move forward with this. I'm kind of behind on a lot of this, but anyway, back to Bolivia. So long story short, so that's an important material difference. So speaking about what will happen on January 20th, the material, cultural, historical, economic reality of Bolivia is very different. Okay, majority are actually indigenous. Many of them came from poverty. That makes a big difference. And extreme poverty, talking about no flush toilets, no water, no electricity, being murdered by paramilitary. You ever got murdered by military forces as a suburban Californian? You ever had your neighbors just be murdered? No, that's a different material reality that existed, and in some senses does exist for many indigenous people in Bolivia and the countries around it. and that's a mature reality that it builds a deeper solidarity than you can imagine when you know that your people are literally being killed for first world, global north, disproportionately white Western extraction of resources for cheap and profit so that some Karens can have some nice phones in a Starbucks, have some nice lithium, and they can send tweets of pictures of Donald Trump with like monkey ears or something. I don't know. That's also racist and they don't care. And that builds a radical solidarity in the people. And so that's we have to keep that in mind. So that's the difference. But back in Bolivia, the Chapare region where Evo was a union leader. So back to Evo Morales, it consists of the mass movement, the movement towards socialism. That's what it stands for in the Spanish there. The mass movement of Bolivia is a mass of people organized in their daily lives. They grew out of a struggle against U.S. military presence in the Chapare region, where Evo was a union leader and also a military leader. He literally fought guerrilla war against the United States. Not as big and as a sphere as in Vietnam, but it was a military struggle with guns and shit. The Chapare region where Evo was a union leader, where they decided it's not enough for us as indigenous people to talk about, oh, there's issues with our land, we're being discriminated against, this river in our community is being contaminated, we have to stop it. So Evo said, no, we have to move out. Evo, not just Evo, I'm talking about Evo Morales. Again, this is a thing Americans don't understand. Americans only understand like celebrities, sports ball, like Super Bowl, and presidents, and cults of personality worship. They don't understand like actual organizing, or really to a large extent. They don't understand how this works. It's still too many on the left don't get this either. They think we're gonna play inside baseball in DC, who's more progressive than who, what policy is happening where in fucking DC. It doesn't matter. There's nothing will come out of DC other than annihilation of all life on Earth, possibly with nuclear fire or with climate change or with I don't know, collapse our fucking, I don't know, black hole open at the center of the Earth because white people are pissed off that they're losing to the Chinese. There's an issue with our land. We're being discriminated against. No, we have to move out of that defensive struggle. We have to move into an offensive struggle to take power. We can't just ask for our rights. We have to actually take power. This is like what Evo Morales and the people were talking about. We can't just ask for rights. We have to take power. The only way we can ensure respect for ourselves is by governing ourselves. From that Chapare region, they went out to the rest of the country. They built other social movements in the rest of Bolivia, affiliated more and more movements. So you have indigenous women's movement. Like missing and murdered indigenous women. That kind of stuff happened there too. Executed indigenous people by the U.S. military and the military, paramilitary, and supported proxy military forces. Canadian supported military forces as well. Canada is America's SCV. It's America's mining company in that terms. These movements, they affiliated more and more movements. And he said, we're not a political party, we are a political instrument. We're not a political party, we're a political instrument, a weapon through which we participate in politics and eventually take power. So again, the politics and elections and whose policy and the Bernie Sanders and the AOC and what is Biden doing and not doing, that doesn't matter. That is secondary. That is just the tip of the actual army. That's the tip of the spear of the actual army. That's one tip of the spear. That's not the most important one. The most important, a big important one, is their economic power and their ability to withdraw it with general strikes and other mass actions, blockades, etc. The tip, the election is like the icing on the cake. In America, the election is like the whole cake, the icing, dinner, dessert, breakfast, lunch, and everything you've ate for your last 10 weeks, months, and your whole entire life is just election. You didn't do anything basically. Certainly not since the 1980s and Reaganomics and destruction of unions and the destruction of all of the socialists, communists, all of that for the most part. And it's still, unfortunately, not, it has come back a little bit, not strong enough in the United States. So we use this election as one of the tools to take power. Economic power, it's also important that there's military power, but then there's also economic power. And they have a different material condition than the United States, right? They're literally being murdered and attacked by these people. Most white people are not being murdered and attacked overtly, like just they're not. Because why? Because white people are the white people are the imperial subject, right? Literally, whiteness is what defined the states. When Oklahoma was the last state to become a state, because to qualify as a state, the would-be government of that state would have to submit a survey of the region of Turtle Island that would become so-called America, colonized America. And if you had to have more than 60 or 70% of the population had to be white before an area could be considered a state. Literally bringing in white people, whether that's from New England, Irish, former serfs, German, smiths, German, blacksmiths or farmers or whoever. You bring some white people, Italian. Well, some of those, some Eastern Europeans and the other lower white people of Europe, they weren't considered full white. But I mean, but for purposes in America, like, we got to bring as many white people in, Irish, German, British, and if you get 60 to 70% of the population of an area, whether that's Washington, Wyoming, Kansas, Florida, California, New Mexico, right? You can cut you cut that piece of land up, and it's no longer like unincorporated or Spanish or whatever it was. It's complicated, but it's no longer Indian land. Now it's a United States state. Literally, the definition of a United States state is 70% whiteness. That's why you look around. America is 76% white, or identifying white, right? And even if your blood, you might have the 10%. You're Chinese or Italian, Irish. Oh, you're not really full. You could be like 30%. Mexican. You have. Oh, I'm 164th Indian, like Elizabeth Warren. Blah 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 blah. But what matters is you look white enough. You self-identify as white. You support the United States white supremacy, ultimately overt and covert. It's police white supremacy. It's police murder and mass incarceration of black and brown bodies. It's global imperialism and murder of black and brown people and stealing of the resources of the 7 billion person planet. You support whiteness. That's how you become a citizen of the United States. That's how you become a stormtrooper. That's how you become a beneficiary of the United States white supremacist capitalist empire. It's literally, you gotta identify white. I have Hawaiian family members that have literally bleached their skin white, cut their epicanthic folds off of their Hawaiian faces, straightened their hair, and became extremely racist against Hispanics, and pretended that they weren't Hawaiian to become white. And one of them has did makeup for CNN anchors, has a multi-million-dollar fashion hair and makeup product line, and is married to a oligarch on one of the oldest dynastic billionaire families on the West Coast in Oregon. But it was about what it was about. It was about assimilation into whiteness, white identity, white politics, white America, white capitalism, white racialized capitalism, white racism against. And she routinely berated. She's technically, when she was born, she was considered brown, non-white, Asian, Hawaiian, mixed. But now she berates and attacks and calls horrible. She had many Hispanic servants, maids for a 25 bathroom house. She had one of those big mansions, and she would berate and attack and use slurs against and just like, Vera, get off your lazy bean eating butt and dust this California king bed, teach my children, what are you lazy little maid doing, right? So she's like a brown woman identified as white attacking another brown woman. It's purely whiteness. That's what makes you an American. That's what makes you a Canadian. That's what makes you the white power under Bolivia's pre-Mas rule. Chile, you go through all of the Americas. It's about whiteness. That's what makes you a stormtrooper, and also not being a communist, all right? And whiteness as an identity, not necessarily not as like, okay, let's look at you against this shade of number 365 printer paper, or this toilet paper, or a cinnamon chai caramel latte with 10 ounces. It's not an angel. How many white angels dancing on a black pinhead counts as white? No, it changes over the years, right? America initially it was only white Anglo-Saxon Protestant Anglo-Teutonic peoples, right? Irish didn't count as white. Eastern European, Italian, no Italians need to apply. They didn't count. But later on, they counted when America needed more and more. They couldn't get enough white Anglo-Saxon British to colonize all of America. And they said, okay, well, we'll give Irish a deal. We'll give Italians a deal, right? There's a lot of history about this, right? And you could even be you could be Hawaiian Asian mix. and then bleach your skin white. And as long as you look, act, and change your accent, you sound like a Southern senator, a senator from Missouri in Congress. You know, you change your accent to sound more American. Like, actually, I got a real twangy voice like this. She used to sound more like me. Or I mean, I sound a little bit different than what I, you know, what I'm speaking without a lot of the accents of white. But she went from a Hawaiian accent, or like a, you know, like a Oahu sort of accent, to, you know, a twangy, like, you know, Lockheed Martin, like a Fox News anchor woman accent. Literally, she changed her entire, and it worked. She made millions of dollars, beautiful career, fame, money, power, success. Her children went to the best schools. Her daughter, like, could do whatever she wants. She has all, her kids have all the health care they could ever want, the best houses they could ever want. They married into a Hollywood director family. They have it made in America. And so, well, long story short, that's a big part of why America doesn't have a strong left. It's still too easy in a lot of, now it's getting harder. Even the white populations are losing a lot of the privilege that they have. That's why the January 6th, that's why the QAnon, the fascists, the right wing, all of Trump is the sea of despair of the declining economic and life expectancy and quality of life for the average white man and white woman, and the decline of the currency of whiteness has been now. It's still not anywhere where black or brownness is, but just even a decline in it is resulting in what? A uprising, a successful fascist, at least temporary coup of the United States, biggest superpower in the world's capital. That's what it was. It was a successful coup. The Congress, men and women, were running for their lives, and there was internal support from the government, the military, and the police. This is what's coming out. This is why the neoliberal elite are worried about this, because there is potential for civil war. Because it's not just some rednecks out there. No, these are a lot of upper middle class bourgeois people. It is not just some upper middle class bourgeois wingnuts, or, you know, nut people. They're calling, oh, they're crazies over there, and, you know, is no. Some people have some weird ideas about, you know, the 5G, but some people, they are very sane and very confident, and they just believe that the United States needs to be undone, and it needs to be undone. It needs to reinstate its white supremacy, and it needs to go away from. Some of them are like against some of the imperialism, which is this weird eco-fascist sort of thing, as we need to stop bombing other countries so that America doesn't have brown and black migrants coming in, which is why they're freaking out about the Honduran caravan. That's a big catnip for all the Breitbart, the far-right media, and the right-wing media, and Trump supporter media. But it's a divide. Max Blumenthal was actually interesting. Max Blumenthal was on CGTN, Chinese television. That was an interesting interview. They're asking what is happening in the United States, and Max is a long time, does a lot of good journalism about imperialism and the fascism, imperialism around the world, and the military-industrial complex. And Max said, like, there has always been a rift within the Republican Party. He said there's been a cold civil war within the Republican Party between the white glove, upper bourgeois echelon, the party of the grand old party of the Roosevelt, the big money, the capitalist, the industrialist, the people who are playing golf in 18 holes in a gated private exurb somewhere in Greenwich, Connecticut, and then in Texas, and then in Davos, and this upper the big money corporate executive sort of wing of the Republican Party is at odds and in a fight with the average small business, to middle business, middle class, upper middle class. Some of them like bourgeois, white worker, rural, identify as white, but they identify more with white supremacy rather than with capitalism and big corporate capital, because they see the big corporate capital as working with who? Migrants, non-white peoples, the Mexicans come in to take my job, my farming job, my rural job, my coal mining job, right? And so the big, and this has always been a split. This happened in the same thing in the early 20th century. Same split happened. of the lower class, which is still not as low as the black and the brown class, who like never even had anything to begin with and treated as cannon fodder and slaves. But the lower middle and the middle and the upper middle white settler class, which is who a lot of Trump, a lot of QAnon, a lot of just middle class rural areas of, you know, from Minnesota, Wyoming, you know, Georgia, you name it, right? All those like white with no black people, sundown town. If your skin is darker than the shade of a cinnamon chai dolce Mandalorian latte or whatever Starbucks is selling for the Disney military industrial complex entertainment, you know, coffees this week. If your skin is darker than a caramel latte, you're getting shot. There are countless towns from California to across New York, California, all across America. There are white towns. You know, like, you know, Get Out. That's all over. 76% of America is white. Most of them are in one of these areas, right? That's why the vast majority of white women and white men, Trump supporters, white women and white men, big majority. It's like, I forget the exact numbers, like 80-something% voted for Trump. I might be slightly off, but you know, it's 76 million Americans, right? And those, not the richest, not the multi tens of millions or multi-hundred millionaire. I mean, some of these Trump supporters are million. There might be one millionaire, but usually not 100 millionaire, billionaire. They're not the executive of, you know, Raytheon or Walmart, probably, right? But they want to be one day. They want to be Jeff Bezos. They want to be a military industrial executive. They want to have 75 yachts, right? But they view the richest in America as colluding with brown people, Mexicans, Muslims, right? And that's a lot of the fascism. They're colluding with those people to bring them into our country. They're letting the Honduran caravan through. It's not like they're running away from famine, climate change that has like decimated their forests, and war and bombs, and having paramilitary goon squads come in and puppet governments literally murder their people and cause civil war, chaos, and extreme poverty, and you know, just decimated economy. And that's why the Hondurans are leaving. No, it's not because America and its imperialist allies have decimated Honduras for extraction. It's that the corporations are just trying to get cheap labor in to replace me, the white worker. Right? And so that big chunk of America, that white working class, the white, you know, a lot of it's the bourgeois and the racist working class, unfortunately. And there's some of them are not overtly necessarily racist, but they live and exist amongst whiteness in the United States. And that big chunk of the United States, that's millions and millions of white Americans afraid of the demographics of America shifting. Again, same thing. The globalists, right? Alex Jones, right? The globalists, you know, Soros, anti-Semitism. The globalists are and the big corporate money, and a lot of them, some of them are Republican, a lot of Democrat and liberal, but a lot of them are Republican too, are colluding to you know, displace us as privileged laborers, making the good salaries as loggers or whatever miners we used to be, construction workers in the real estate industry, you know, whatever, you know, small business owners and farmers. They're displacing us. The actual Americans, the settler colonial white Americans, benefiting from stolen people on stolen land. But I mean, in their worldview, we're being replaced, and they're going to replace it with Hispanics, with Chinese, with black, with these people they're bringing across the border, just letting them pour across the border. They're going into voting booths, voting in Democrats who are going to further erode our country. They're going to replace us. They're going to replace our majority white population. 76% whiteness is going to dwindle. It is slowly becoming more of a plurality in America, not as fast as they're claiming, actually, but the currency of whiteness will not be worth as much. We will be treated by the cops like anybody else. We might be treated, we won't get special treatment anymore. We won't be able to just get our cut of the stolen land and stolen resources pie anymore. We won't be able to become a millionaire or billionaire because we're gonna be we'll be treated just like Mexicans, which is its own level of racism. We'll be treated just like Hispanics. We'll be treated just like Asians. We'll all be treated equally, and that to white people will feel like oppression, right? Equality to somebody who has lived a life of privilege will feels like oppression to them, right? They go, well, how come I'm getting called on all my racism and all of my privilege? You know, well, it's because we're trying to move to an equal society. That's the left, and and that's a lot of the pushback, and that's you know, it's a difficult material condition to be in because 76% of America has the material reality of being a fucking reactionary white supremacist stormtrooper, overtly or not overtly, right? Even if you don't act on it, you still not gonna. If you're not actively anti-racist, you are in support of whiteness as a power structure in the United States, which the government, the police, its military, and its corporation ultimately do support. But anyway, that's a split is where we are going to replace, and so that split within the Republican Party is what's coming home to roost with January 6th, right? It's like, no, America is. You see the Camp Auschwitz staff T-shirts. You've got the 1488, all the swastikas, full overt white supremacy, overt fascism. The Boogaloo Boys, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, they're all out there. And a lot of these are police and military. The woman who was shot was ex-Air Force and police. This has to be reiterated. That element of the population that is part of the a coup attempt, and that big wide swath of Trump supporters, QAnon, and the people that are in support, if not necessarily going to go to the Capitol and try to attack it and break in and try to kidnap with zip ties members of Congress, including AOC. AOC was like, I was fearing for my life because somehow there, and this is another thing. So there are government, there are some actual there's some actual QAnon people have been elected to the United States government, and some of them were also being quarantined with AOC and all the Democrats and everyone else, and some of the Republicans are also worried. And that's why they're pissed off that there are metal detectors in the Capitol now. And members of Congress are like, I'm afraid for my life, because even other members of Congress, that's the latest one, because they've actually tweeted and said things online and offline that are basically death threats against other. So the Congress itself, far-right fascist members of the U.S. Congress are threatening the lives of other members of Congress. That's another thing that this is not from the leftist, radical, far-left Cuban rag. This is from CNN and the LA Times and the Washington Post. This is like literally a thing that is, I mean, because it makes America look like a complete failed state and a terrible, collapsing non-democracy, which it is. It is a non-democracy, free, rule of law, free, white supremacist, capitalist, imperialist, decrepit shithole. But CNN and Washington Post have a vested interest in making it look very solid, very stable, with peaceful transitions of power after its democratic elections, right? So it's not in their interest to be talking about this stuff unless it's like really like a big major problem for them, because they are the newspapers of the empire. So anyways, so back to this. It's only there's issues with our land. We're being discriminated against. So back to Bolivia. So the only way we can ensure respect for ourselves is by governing ourselves from that. And so that was interesting. A recent take from Max Blumenthal, and that's a lot of what's at the heart of what's happening in the United States. And it is in the military of the United States. It is in the police departments of the United States. Multiple Chicago Police Department and multiple U.S. Police Department chiefs have come out and basically supported, and they said that what the Capitol attackers did was valid and they should be allowed, and there's nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong. So you have big chunks of the 860,000 plus United States police. There are 22 million United States former U.S. military veterans and then current active duty. You got 1.6 million active duty, and you've got 22 million veterans. Big chunks of that are not necessarily all the way on the far right, but they would say that we need to do something. We need to do something. Many of them are Trump supporters. Actually, a majority. I think there are more Trump supporters than Biden supporters actually in the U.S. military. If that was something, I forget what that statistic is, but there was a big support because of Trump's, not necessarily because he's against the war, but against war itself, but because he was less pro-war than the Democrats, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. And this is unfortunately the truth. And so there are a lot of people that are in the military, big swaths, that are actually not necessarily siding with all the swastika and the 1488, but they do believe that the United States needs a second revolution. Now, if they fight it, it is not necessarily going to be a leftist, socialist, communist revolution to liberate people and have a stateless class as money to society. No. If there's something that were to, and this is why the Joint Chiefs of Staff, every living Joint Chiefs of Staff, basically the entire U.S., I think the majority of the U.S. military generals, secretaries of state, if I'm not mistaken, Colin Powell, that's under George W. Bush. You're talking about Obama's Secretary of State. They all came out and they said, Joe Biden is president. We must not have any violence or any deployment of the military or any fighting within the U.S. military or utilizing the U.S. military. You don't have to you don't have some of the people at the core centers of power in the military-industrial complex. This is like all of the Star Destroyer captains and the Emperor Palpatine and all the biggest players in the Empire coming out and telling the stormtroopers, we are not going to have a civil war within the Empire. We're not going to have stormtroopers fighting stormtroopers, Star Destroyers shooting at AT-AT walkers. We're not going to have a rift in the Empire. That's what it is. It's like, you would not say that unless that's a legitimate threat. You would not, CNN would not be, it's embarrassing. You know, you got the Chinese already surpassing the United States in economic power, already surpassing the United States in leading on COVID-19, already surpassing the United States in deals with Europe that are already pivoting away from America, in deals with Africa that are pivoting away from America. It is so embarrassing to have to come out and try to clean your own house to stop internal civil war. So you would not do that because you have to come out and say these things publicly. You would not do that unless you because it's huge credibility damage to the United States in the international community, in the UN. When I said the US, it's already revoked. You know, Biden is over there trying to recapture, right? He's over there trying to make up with the UN coming. We're gonna rejoin the WHO. We're gonna rejoin the UN. We're gonna rejoin the human rights agreements. We're gonna rejoin, the climate accords. We're gonna try to be competent imperialists again, not necessarily for good reasons. They're gonna rejoin to try to reinstitute America's fake moral leadership, cultural leadership, planetary hegemony by leading the world as some light on the hill, which has never been true. But they want to kind of like reassert their, they want to, because you can't get imperialism done if you got a lot of the rest of the world, which is becoming more multipolar, not moving in your favor, particularly Europe. Failure of sanctions on Iran, because China and Iran doing $460 billion worth of business, oil and trading in gold, non-U.S. dollars, with U.S. financial weapon of mass destruction, that is the U.S. world reserve currency, the dollar. And the Europeans didn't go along with that. So America's capacity to, and all of its allies as well, to enforce planetary colonialism, planetary global genocide, death, coups, wars, wealth extraction, it relies on its ability to, at least to some extent, maintain its, we are a functioning Western liberal democracy, and we are the epitome and the ideal. Obviously we're not, but we want to project to the world that we are the ideal society. And if you are not a Western liberal democracy, we are in the right to overthrow your country, whether that's Bolivia, Chile, South American country X, African country X, your Libya, Syria, Asia, wherever you are. We are the model of goodness, but now America, you can't say that when you had a democratic election. And there's always, was it, whether it's rigged or not, I mean, every election is just like a fake coloring book characteristics, plutocracy with coloring book characteristics. But to the rest of the world, you want to show, we had a democratic election, now there's a transfer of power. This is the new president. This is who's going to go talk to the premier of China. This is going to talk to the head of the EU. This is who's going to go make deals with the Bundesbank and with, the leadership in Africa and in the Middle East. This is who you're dealing with in Vietnam. This is who you're dealing with Australia. This is New Zealand. This is who you'll be talking to. The Secretary of State under President Biden, right? But America can't say that. It can't go, we are a functioning democracy, because it's literally balkanizing. This had already been happening for really years, but definitely in June, when Donald Trump, like I brought this up in June, there was already a coup. It was a soft coup, but it was a anti-Trump coup at that time. Trump ordered hundreds of thousands, the United States military, as the commander-in-chief of the United States in June, during the Black Lives Matter actions in the Capitol. Donald Trump ordered the United States military tanks from Fort Knox, Texas, Florida, and a variety of other locations, U.S. military bases. He ordered hundreds of thousands of 5.56 NATO rounds, full metal jacket, not pepper balls, again, not non-lethal rounds. He ordered full lethal munition, ordered into DC, tanks, militarized police vehicles, militarized jeeps, .50 calibers. He ordered it into DC, and then he also said these would be deployed on American citizens. It was Donald. I mean, obviously he does a lot of things, but he thought that he thought at that time that sections of the United States military and the police would side with him, and that could have been the fascist coup. That could have been his Hitler moment. That could have been his crystal knock and his now we're gonna have a white supremacist fascist, and I will be the permanent ruler of America because the military will side with me against Black Lives Matter, against the left, against the left, the liberal, the media, and I will be American Mussolini, like for real, not like just like people saying that in the Twitch stream or YouTube or somebody hot taking on Twitter. I'm talking about like for real. He miscalculated. The Joint Chiefs of Staff, the same thing. The generals, General Mattis came out and wrote a huge op-ed saying that comparing Trump to the Nazi Germany's Hitler. We cannot allow Trump to have his. He literally, this is the general. That's also very embarrassing. Like, so America, you're like 3 inches from Nazi Germany. That's embarrassing. You don't want that. They tried to bury that one. I found it. There's an article about it. You can read General Mattis' statement. Other countless generals, the same thing. George Bush, Obama, all the presidents and the neoliberal imperial, the loyal imperial, the imperial capitalist neoliberal and crypto white supremacists in a lot of ways, even Obama, who have solidarity as a ruling American imperial class, as a billionaire and multi-hundred millionaire puppeted class, political and Wall Street, they all came out and condemned Trump at the time, and the generals came out and they wrote an article, said, troops, you must not support Donald Trump in his literal ordering of the US military to fire not rubber bullets, let me say that again, fire fully automatic assault rifles at American citizens, particularly black Americans, particularly Black Lives Matter. You must not follow Donald Trump's order because this is Nazi Germany. This is not who we are as a nation. This is not who we are. You keep hearing that, right? This is not who we are. This is not who we are. Just saying this is not who we are again and again and again, saying we're not Nazi Germany, saying we're not white supremacists, saying we are not a racist society, saying we're not a disgustingly unequal society, saying we are the light on the hill, and we are not a collapsing, horrific empire that is the great evil on earth. Just saying that over and over doesn't make it true. You know, we are not. This is not who we are. This is not who we are. You know, I'm sorry. It doesn't work like Dorothy tapping your heels together, and there's no place like home. And you can go back. You can go back to America in 1970 or 1950 or whenever you thought it was great. It was never great. It was always racist. It was always white supremacist. Always unequal, in one way or another, to bigger and lesser extents. But they tried to do that, and it worked at that time. Big chunks of the military did not side with Trump, and they said, no, this is not a good idea. We don't want to do this. We don't want people to die. So the capacity for the U.S. military, active duty, the people who actually fire the guns, the people who drive the tanks, the soldiers, National Guard, Army, Marines, veterans, some of the militia members, current and active duty, but especially the active duty, all those forces, and to an extent the police forces, but the military ultimately will make these decisions. Them deciding, no, we're not going to follow Trump was a coup. That is treason. That's treason. That's disobeying an order from the president of the United States. That's a soft coup, shadow coup. Now that was already a shadow balkanization. The governor of Maryland ordered the National Guard troops to fight against federal troops to defend COVID-19 PPE, medical masks, ventilators, and 3-layer masks. And at the time, difficult to get medical equipment. It was the state governor and the military of the state. That's the National Guard is the military, and the police were deployed against federal force. That's also that's a shadow balkanization of the United States. That's a coup. That's treason. That's technically treason, what that governor did. But we're not going to talk about that because that would look really bad for America to actually plunge into full collapse. Publicly, it's embarrassing when you're trying to make billions of dollars at Amazon and have international trade deals for your Tesla lithium and car parts, and your soybeans getting sold off into whatever country that's not buying them anymore because you're this idiot doing these tariffs, interrupting your international billionaire imperial profits. It is not convenient to have it out and about that the United States are deploying military against the federal government. Or not this. That wasn't just Maryland. It was Maryland. There were other states. I can't remember all of them, but definitely Maryland was one. You had the Customs and Border Patrol coming in, jurisdictional fights in Portland, right? With the whole Black Lives Matter and the disappearance. You know, I mean, a lot of that was kind of for show, but it was a flex. It was Donald Trump testing to see who is on my side. Is Customs and Border Patrol on my side? The answer, yes. Is ICE on my side? The answer, yes. Are the United States Police Departments on my side? What is the answer now? Yes. Are the federal police of the Capitol on my side? Yes. They abandoned the Capitol and allowed the fascists to come in, threatening the lives of the United States senators and congressmen. So the answer is the United States is already balkanized. They were the deep rifts in the United States and within the Republican Party and within all parties really, within the military, within the police, between state and federal government, between city and state. You can see that with the chaos in COVID, with Andrew Cuomo yelling and screaming at the governor of New York and the mayor of New York fighting each other, even within the Democratic Party, fighting over medical equipment, fighting over money, fighting over whose responsibility, even this kind of disastrous COVID-19 vaccine distribution, where only more than 60% have not been distributed. America's not distributing vaccine fast enough. I'm sorry. But a lot of that is, and part of that is due to the brokenness, the balkanization. That is not going to get better. Just because Biden takes power, Biden is not exactly a unifying figure for the United States. I don't know. I mean, I guess in a little bit he's a little less polarizing than Donald Trump. But he barely eked through on Black Lives Matter and the whatever exists of the left, riding on their support really, and nobody really likes this guy really. Ultimately, the right definitely don't like him, and a lot of the everybody was holding their nose just to vote for him, and so I mean I don't see it really getting a lot better under this guy, and I mean that assumes that there's still a country after January 20th. But back to that kind of thing. So these risks, there are already what is essentially direct disobeying of presidents, governors, mayors, splits between the military, between state, federal government, between QAnon, Trump supporter, the tens of millions of Trump supporter and right wing and white supremacist elements of the military, or America's swamp needs to be drained, and 76% of the military disagree with the generals and the neoliberal and the billionaire class that ordered them into Afghanistan and Iraq. So there is a huge split in the military between the people who fire the weapons, who pilot the tanks, who drop the bombs out of the F-16s, who play the PS4 controller to pilot the drones, the people who are in the field, driving the Jeep with the arming the .50 caliber, firing it into the Muslim people's houses and killing them, right? Dropping the Tomahawk missile. The people with the guns in the U.S. military, there's a rift between, some of them are black, some of them are brown, so that's another complicating factor. They're not all necessarily up for the white supremacy, so that's not that gives it pause. The military can't just go, well, we have an all-white supremacist fascist military. No, it's not that. That's another complicating factor. You have big chunks of the military are black and they're brown, and they didn't sign up to have a Third Reich in America. But there are sympathizers of Trump. There are people who think that America's federal government and all of DC and its leadership have got them into horrific, destructive wars that for profit that have decimated the country, spent $21 trillion, are a big reason why America doesn't have a social safety net, health, Medicare for all. It doesn't have housing. It doesn't have clean water. It doesn't have schools. Its children can't afford to go to college. Is because America's spending money on its military irresponsibly, disastrously, war criminally, in all of its for-profit regimes, change wars, and that is true. America is doing that. And some of them are going, and what needs to happen is DC needs to be undone. Big chunks of the U.S. military. Now, some of them are on the white supremacist side, but not all of them. That's not good, but that is very dangerous. because all these things, you know, and so you know you can and not just and I'm saying not just the current dude. There are again 22 million U.S. military veterans. They all have military training. Many of those people are the people who are plotting logistics of the capital, and they looked at Portland, they've looked at California, they looked at all these states. They have done coups in their past. They went to Bolivia, they went to Libya, they went to Iraq, they went to Kuwait. Some of them are Native Hawaiians who have actually participated in overthrowing democratic governments. You get into the area, you get situational awareness, command and control. You cause chaos, economic chaos, violence. In the chaos, you take control of the situation. You install a puppet government on the benefit of fascists for the neoliberal Chicago school people to come in, suck all the oil, the copper, the lithium, whatever, the resources, the slaves, whatever you want. The military is. There are many competent democracy overthrowers in the United States military of the 22 million former and current armed forces. They know how to overthrow government. Let me say that again. The United States military knows how to overthrow governments, many of them, because they do that all the time. They, you know, there's a scene in Elysium where Kruger, played by Shelton Copley, is talking to kind of like French, like half Angela Merkel crossed with the the French president of the biggest French bank. You know, it's kind of like the EU crossed with DC. What's her name? Jodie Foster is like this, like the richest, whitest neoliberal lady, right? In space, luxury, with green manicured lawns, in an orbital kind of like a Taurus, like in Halo, but with just for rich people only, billionaires, the 10,000 richest people in the world in space. And they have beautiful robots. They have robots that serve them all the food that they want. They have the nicest luxury mansions in space. Earth is a dying, collapsing shithole with poverty, disease, war, famine. But they're still making the products for the billionaires in space, right? And there's a scene in which Kruger, who represents the kind of like the military, the trigger-pulling arm. He's like a soldier, like a kind of crazed, like psychotic, ex-military soldier who like shoots down immigrants when they're trying to escape to get healthcare in Elysium in space. In there, they have med pods that can, you know, shoot like nanites through your bloodstream and detect every neoplasm, every cancerous cell in your body and delete them before you even get cancer, right? And people are trying to, like some Mexicans on Earth are trying to get on a ship to fly up to Elysium to get some healthcare, and his job is to shoot them out of the sky on behalf of on Earth. He's like on Earth, like using a katana ninja sword to flip a tray of a barbecued rat, and then he puts the sword down and he's like, oh, he gets a phone call from the neoliberal, and then he picks up his like 2035 cyberpunk 2077 rocket launcher, aims it at the migrant, like the Honduran caravan. He fires 4 homing rockets and blows them out of the sky on behalf of the people. He just likes, you know, he's kind of like the Hurt Locker. He's like the Odyssean sort of like broken post-traumatic stress annihilation, like just completely gone. All he thinks about is war and death and destruction. He can't function. He's just like you know, he's just mad. He's like Mad Max, basically. But love it. He loves to kill and he loves war. He loves fighting, and that's what he knows, right? And America produces a lot of those people, like millions of them. That's what you do when you send people to 3 tours of duty, kicking in the doors and slaughtering children, and waterboarding 16-year-olds, torturing them for 24 hours, blasting Matchbox 20 and at 120 decibels and flashing the lights every 2 hours, and then literally waterboarding them. And then making them, having piles of Muslims stacked like pyramids to take pictures. You know, that's what the U.S. military does. It tortures and it kills and it does war crimes. And then you have people that come back broken and fucked up, and then they sometimes kill themselves. But anyways, so that's a lot of the people in the 20 million people who are looking for a cause to those people that who did this to me, who caused me to lose my family, my wife, my marriage, everything. And now I'm a broken man. I'm looking for a cause. And then Donald Trump is saying, I can give you the cause. Come with me. Look. The neoliberal, the Democrats, Republicans, the billionaires, the Raytheon, they're all putting me on the outskirts. Come with me, soldier. Come with me, 22 million Iraq, Afghanistan veterans. Come with me, and I will give you purpose again. I will. You can mend your broken mind and your broken soul. For all those children you murdered, for all those kids that you shot, for all those waterboarding, for all those towns that you bombed, all the little ash-ridden, volcanic glass-covered areas that used to be preschools and hospitals. I will make you whole again. by bringing salvation to America. You will save this country and the world from all of its wars. Come with me to the Capitol, and I will give you purpose. 22 million of these people. I mean, not everybody is at that level, but I mean, that's how many veterans are. You know, it's a military-industrial complex. It's not the military-industrial playground. It's not the military-industrial Boy Scouts. It's not the military-industrial group of 20 people. It's the military-industrial complex. It runs America. It's huge swaths of the entire country. And they're pissed off, a lot of these people who have been hurt by it. Told they were going to fight for freedom and democracy, and they went off and they went and murdered innocent people. Now, many of them said this, the way to actually fight for freedom and democracy and a good life for all people is not to go attack the Capitol. Many of them, the eyes left, and the leftist veterans, obviously there's a lot of those too. We have to be against all war and all violence, and we cannot support this right-wing fascist coup. This is unacceptable. And they're all military. The black and brown ones are definitely like, I ain't got to fight for Trump. I don't know about that. This guy is a racist, disgusting human being. But other ones are like, I'm not going to fight for Trump, but I also don't like the Democrats, Republicans, and the entire United States establishment and its military-industrial complex. That has to be taken down. And I don't care if it's Trump or QAnon or what shaman with his shitty-ass podcast and his racist taking a poop on the picture of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, wiping his ass with Nancy Pelosi's phone, and then tasing himself in the balls, and then dying from a heart attack. I don't really know about those guys, but what I do know is, and I'm more competent than those guys, I'm one of millions of extremely competent actual coup doers who have overthrown democracies much better with higher voting percentages than America. And I know how to do coups, and I think America needs one. So I'm going to take the U.S. military and intelligence community training that I got, and I'm going to use it against the United States. That's what's happening. And that's why, so that scene, back to that scene, there's a scene in which Kruger, the military, the fist of, right, the neoliberal, billionaire, neo-feudal, white glove, recherche, untouchable, Palace at Versailles crowd, they're up in space, and Kruger comes up and he says, and there's a point at which, the kind of Biden, Pelosi, Merkel, neoliberal lady played by Jodie Foster in her white suit skirt, looks like Hillary Clinton, is like, what if they come for us, Kruger? They're gonna come for us, like, because there's an actual attack on Elysium, and like an attack on the Capitol, right? And he said, what if they come for us? They'll hang us for this. They'll hang us. And Kruger says, they're not gonna hang us, because we do the hanging. We do the hanging, I do the hanging, and then he kills her, right? The broken military veteran murders his own very small class of neoliberal billionaires and multi-hundred millionaires. He kills them all. Nobody is going to hang, us. The people who fought your wars, the people who bombed those innocent people in Iraq, the people who had to pick up bits of had to try to help a child buried underneath 10,000 pounds of broken, elementary school rubble, and then rip the leg off. And you have created me, that's General Walker Koch Jobs in Neofeud. You created me, and we are the hangers. You don't do anything. You sit around and you talk. You talk in your Senate, and you play dog and pony show and horse trading, and you make money, and you go to your golf course, and you have your nice little pool, and you have your nice little Davos skiing with your $10,000, ass model wives and whatever. We do the hanging, and now we're gonna hang you, because you need to be fucking hung. 22 million veterans, 22 million armed forces. A lot of them are saying it's time to hang this. There's not very many of these people. They're afraid. They need their police. They need police. They need people with guns with training to defend them. And the police, the federal police, and the military defected. There was collusion. Even CNN has admitted this. There was collusion. CNN, Washington Post, MSNBC. There was collusion between the U.S. government officials, the federal police, the U.S. military, and within sections of the military, they defected, they pulled out, and they allowed the fascists to come in, and they lost the Capitol. So there are, and not all of them, but there are big chunks of Krugers in the U.S. and they're going, no, this of a variety of far right or just far right, or they're just anti-war, or they're just, I'm a broken human and I want to make right and I'm gonna give my life fighting the second Revolutionary War, undoing the United States federal government. You know, big chunks. Okay, again, this is not me. This is CNN saying this. I was just reading an article. They've admitted this. There are big elements of the United States. So America is already shadow balkanized. It's already a failed state. It's already now. Will it be able to pull itself back together again? With enough duct tape and you know, star-spangled shoelaces to make it appear like there's a country there with something like a democracy? There never was, but I mean, not even just a plutocracy that represents the 1% against everybody else. But I mean, can you even maintain the facade of a democracy with a leader? Can you even maintain a at least ostensible acceptance of a president and a cabinet so that they can negotiate trade deals with the rest of the world? Because the rest of the world is going, I can't be negotiating with Donald Trump if I'm going to be selling, you know, if I'm going to be giving 98% of the antibiotics, bacteria, antibacterials, and medicine, and 50-60% of all the X-ray machines, surgical materials, 3-layer masks, and I'm going to be negotiating deals because China does almost all of America's medicine. They're going, we would love to keep sending you the things that you need to continue to live and have any healthcare whatsoever and not die by the million from everything from giardia to you know, strep throat by not having antibiotics. But we need to know who are we dealing with, the Trump cabinet or are we dealing with the Biden cabinet? If we do, are you going to have a coup next week and then it's all going to fall through? That's what the rest of the world, the Europeans, the Asian countries, Latin America, I mean, all the other parts of the world, they're all looking, Canada, they're looking and they're going, we need stability. We need to know that there's a country there and not just a giant chaotic civil war. Otherwise, we're not going to deal with you. We're going to go, hey, you guys, I mean, that's what's kind of happening. I was listening to, actually, it was like Kishore Mahbubani talking to, in China, they're saying, like, you need to give America 6 months. Just see if they can pull themselves together and then figure out if you can deal with them. You know, he's like, I really hope that America, you know, and it's not, you know, somebody who had negotiated with, you know, everybody from Nixon to Clinton. I mean, these are war criminals, but somebody who has dealt with a variety of Americans and had to understand the East and West. And he's like, it's not looking good. But I mean, America has pulled through difficult times, you know, and there was a civil war, but it's, you know, but a lot of the word is America from the outside looking in. Where the future actually, like I said, the future of the world is not in America. The future of the world is in Asia, it's in Africa. And it's in the future indigenous peoples taking back South Central America, and ultimately the rubble and the ashes of America and the people that haven't died. When Vietnam comes in and actually gives you healthcare, builds housing, and gives you actual education, along with other, there's going to be aid drops like in Jericho from Asia. They're going to be like, okay, America, anybody living there? After 4,000 people died every day for the last, you know, and everybody who died from opioids and everybody who died from homelessness. Is there anybody in the Civil War? Anybody left alive? That's not where the future of the world is looking at the past of the world, but that still sits on all of the 10,000 nuclear warheads, enough to bomb the entire planet thousands of times into annihilation. And they're looking at America and they're going like, are we gonna just let you go, or are we gonna is there gonna be something to work with there? Are we gonna just try to build like a giant wall, a radiation wall against you, or are we gonna work with you? And it's unknown what's gonna happen. It's unknown what's gonna happen, but and there is a large portions of the economy are still interconnected, and it will be disastrous if there is any kind of actual split between China and the United States, because it's the bulk of it's still the bulk, but probably not for much longer, of trade and economic power, and many people will starve and would suffer if there was any kind of war there. But it's and it will be very hard. It would be very hard if it was full United States collapse, and there's not you can't even do any deals, and you know they're just like, well, here's some masks, and here's some insulin, and here's some food, and here's some medicine, and we're gonna go work with the rest of the world, and we're gonna try to survive the collapse of America, and please don't shoot any nuclear weapons this way, right? It will be very unfortunate. But I think the rest of the world will survive. I mean, as long as you don't shoot any nuclear weapons anywhere. You can't be having dead hands shooting off, the intercontinental ballistic missiles with warheads on them. But if America just quietly falls apart, I mean, it would be very sad, very disastrous for people in the United States. Again, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna shed no tears for the empire that is still illegally occupying us. I'll be happy when all of the rusting aircraft carriers, battleships, stormtroopers, Marines, Navy, and military get off of our lands. That'll be fantastic. But I will feel bad for. I have relatives and family that are in Indiana, the East Coast, the West Coast, Washington, Portland, and that will be very unfortunate for them. But at the same time, it's kind of like it's something that it's just something that America will have to figure. I mean, America will have to figure it out for itself. There's not really much that the rest of the world can do except kind of watch and wait. It's kind of like having cancer in America. You just don't do anything. You just kind of watch and wait because you can't afford to like lose your house with $200,000 worth of medical bills with what would be treatable, colon or skin cancer. So you just watch it and wait and hope the cancer goes away because you don't have a functioning healthcare system, and then you just die from cancer, and then your husband or your wife cries that you chose not making your family homeless rather than getting cancer. So the rest of the world is like Americans watching their cancer. They're going, I hope this cancer doesn't kill the whole body, but we can't really intervene. We can't. There's nothing that really everybody else can do other than just like keep sending masks and medical equipment and doing whatever trade they can with whatever parts that they can in the United States, and try not to get hope that World War III doesn't start, But anyway, let me get back to the topic here because we're getting close to 9. We can't just ask for our rights. We have to actually take power. Anyway, so back to Bolivia. I've been not talking about Bolivia for too long. Back to Bolivia, a place with an actual revolutionary socialist movement, unlike the United States. From that Chapare region, they went out to the rest of the country. They built other social movements in the rest of the country, affiliated more and more movements. You can't do this in the United States. It's a lot harder because there's too many white, reactionary, Trump and liberal, dyed-in-the-wool Karens and Steves and QAnons. And also your neoliberal and your giant big media, and it's just too rich and too fat. They haven't suffered extreme poverty or being shot by paramilitary forces, right? Bolivians have, so that's a big difference. But that's what they did. They went around and they radicalized. Same thing in Vietnam. I'm not saying that it was easy for Ho Chi Minh and the Vietnamese. That's not my place. But the revolutionary potential when your entire people are being killed, bombed into the Stone Age from the sky, you're having your children shot in rice paddies by 50 caliber American, choppers. You got AC-130s flying around, dropping. You got the F-16s firebombing and incinerating in hellfire your entire village to ash. It's not that hard for you and all of your people crying up for your children and for your mom and your uncle that died to get them radical and going, we have to fight this empire. I mean, they were like, I already hate America because they've killed me, they killed my family, they bombed. Even if everybody knew somebody, a friend, a neighbor, somebody in another town, another village who was attacked by American forces, right? Not with the exception of the reactionary collaborators and the compromised American imperial subjects in Saigon. But most of the people are like, they killed my family. I'm gonna die fighting this disgusting empire. And also, we fought many empires. We've been fighting imperialism for a long time. So in Vietnam, it's a very different material reality. And Bolivia, not at the level of violence of Vietnam necessarily, right? But a similar reality. And also, Bolivians, and guess what Bolivians and Vietnamese have? They're not white people. It instantly gives you a solidarity in a global context of global white supremacy, of global colonialism, of indigenous non-white peoples by Europeans, Americans, and all of their settler colonial allies. That's why MAS as a force. But anyway, we said we are a political party. We don't participate in politics. We use politics to take power. That's why MAS as a force is not beaten. The movement towards socialism is not beaten. Sections of the military are again, coming back to the military, sections of the military in Bolivia are very pro movement towards socialism. They're socialists, right? Traveling with Andronic Rodriguez, senator. This is from Ali Vargas, who was a reporter for the pro-MAS reporter. We used to work for the state media until the fascists seized all of the state media and shut down the movement for socialism's ability to progress to report on events in Bolivia. That's the first thing you do as a fascist, as a neoliberal imperialist. Shut down the media, fill everybody's brain with lies, right? Like in Hawaii, tell everybody that the Hawaiians didn't exist and they're a bunch of backward savages and they're all, barbaric, and there was no even more advanced civilization than America, and electric lights in Iolani Palace before the White House, even had electricity. There was and a literacy rate that was surpassed every. I had to correct myself. Actually, Hawaiians actually had a higher literacy rate than America, Britain, and every country in Europe. By the admission of the Europeans, in multiple languages, not just in Hawaiian, English, and usually multiple other languages. But anyways, so that's what happens. And anyway, Oli Vargas was reporting, and he said, while I was in Bolivia traveling around, there were military checkpoints in Cochabamba, and you would get stopped, right? And there was a routine search of your car. Cochabamba is a city in Bolivia, right? The soldier would come up and they would say, you're Andronica. Andronica was a MAS senator. So there's a socialist, the movement towards socialism senator. And the soldier would come up and they say, you're Andronica, the senator, aren't you? And you get nervous, right? Because you're like, what if this soldier is loyal to the fascist coup regime? What if they're loyal to the neoliberal side? What if they hate MAS? Again, there is rifts in the military, right? And you're going to hear about this all over the news media, but there's splits in the military, and big chunks of it were still pro-MAS, and some of them were pro-fascist, but you don't know. So the soldier could come up and they say, you're Andronica? You're dead. And also, you're the driver? You're also dead. We've captured the enemy. Let's take... And they did. They took MAS, the family members of their leaders, and other elements of the MAS party, pro-MAS individuals, high-profile individuals. They took them hostage, and they killed some of them. There were murders. What's on trial now in Bolivia is the political murders by military personnel of the leadership. Again, when you see the fascists, the QAnon shamans showing up, and people with zip ties, people with plans about, and they're talking about, we're gonna capture Nancy Pelosi, we're gonna get AOC, we're gonna capture these senators and representatives, and we're gonna take them hostage, or they just be dead, right? This is what happens in other countries. America does this to other countries all the time. So it's Salvador Allende. Nancy Pelosi is like, oh my God, I really love neoliberalism and imperialism, and I love, I studied the Salvador Allende model in the Chicago school with Barack Obama, because we're all from Chicago, a bunch of fucking murderers and fascists overthrowing democracies and killing their socialist presidents. But I really hope that these QAnon shamans don't come and kill me like the way that I do to the rest of the world all the time, killing their political leaders with military radical forces. It would be a weird, not really justice. I hope nobody dies, but that is a thing, as reported. That's not my words. That's Washington Post, that's CNN. That's investigations by elements of the United States FBI and police forces that are not on the side of, let me say that again, not the U.S. police and force. The U.S. police is on the side of Donald Trump. Elements of the United States that are not fully on the side of the fascists and the actual millions of American military, police, and federal agents that are on the side of a coup of the United States. There are some elements of the United States that are going to help Nancy Pelosi, but that's what she's worried about. She's like, oh no, is there going to be anybody to help me? Who can I trust? Is this National Guard? Is this U.S. military reserve? Is that a 1488 I see underneath their sleeve? Because if it is, what if they're supposed to be defending me, but then they turn around and take me hostage? So that's, again, it's really like America. This is kind of poetic justice. This is what you do this is what you did to Bolivia, where people or senators are driving through. They're going, is this soldier gonna kill me because he's again sympathetic with the QAnon version of Bolivia's military, or is he a QAnon shaman in his actual? Because the QAnon was actually ex-Navy, right? Oh, is this crazy? Oh, he's military. He's military trained. The Air Force, Army, got all departments were represented. And these are some of the more fanatical elements, but there's millions of not less. I'm gonna go attack the Capitol right now. They're much more strategic. They're planning. They're looking at logistics. They're looking at shutting down all of the streets on X, Y, and Z. They're looking at what time and all the strategic thing. Where can we land choppers to send out our people? Where is Antifa? Where's Black Lives Matter? Let me tap my radical edge of the intelligence agencies, the NSA that are siding with the Trump side of things, the bits of the whatever the intelligence community, the people in that have connections in the tech companies that can get me data on who is where are the cops, where are the pro cops, where are the senators, let me get situational awareness so that I can undo this government the way that I did it in Iraq, the way that I did it tried to do it in Venezuela but failed, the way that I did it in African country, the way that I did it in the Middle Eastern country X, the way that I did it in Kuwait. Dr. Keanu Sai, who was on Mauna Kea, native Hawaiian, who was involved in the overthrow of a Middle Eastern government in the Gulf War. And he became a radical defender of our sacred mountain Mauna Kea. Why? Because while he was getting situational awareness, deploying military, economic, and psyop forces, information distributing pamphlets, buying up bits of the media and warping everybody's mind to support the fascist or the friendly America-friendly military-industrial complex coup government in that country. He was a major in the U.S. military, and he said, I participated in the overthrow of a democratic, non-white country for the benefit of imperial exploitation and colonization of their oil and their resources. And he looked in history and he said, this is what America did to Hawaii in 1893 with illegal. Hawaii was the blueprint for America's coups. Hawaii was the first of this is kind of really like, it's a little bit of poetic justice also that it's a Hawaiian that's fucking saying all this stuff, because it was Hawaii that was illegally overthrown as admitted by President Grover Cleveland and President Bill Clinton in 1893 with annexation, which is not a legal term that doesn't function under international law. It was a coup with gunboat diplomacy of the native Hawaiian, most advanced civilization on the face of planet Earth that wasn't white. Kind of like, I don't know, Bolivia, advancing with socialism, utilizing green technology and mass unionization, worker-owned cooperatives, and indigenous liberation to have a egalitarian, sustainable society that doesn't benefit the rich and the white. It's weird how that's kind of like Hawaii, which had actually a constitution when most of Europe had feudal elites that had no education for the masses of people. That's why Hawaiians were more educated, because Hawaiians were actually socialists. And they actually gave education to every single Hawaiian. Unlike Europe, unlike America, which reserves good education and excellent education for the richest and most powerful feudal or American capitalist elite. That's why, it's the real secret. Hawaii was just the Bolivia of the 1800s, one of the first. And America said, we can't allow indigenous, socialist, right? The movement to socialism of Hawaii to succeed, and particularly when they're doing much better than us. They are much more educated. They have better at diplomacy than us. They're technologically advanced, more technologically advanced enough. They have electricity. They have a more advanced rail. If this continues, they could spread the success of a brown, non-white people is a fist in the eye of planetary colonialism. That is based on what? The accepted, accredited science of every American and European university professor and scientist of phrenology, of the superiority of the white race. This is the presidents of New Zealand, Canada, Britain, America, you name it. This is the accepted science. It is our God-given right. It is our right, and even if you're an atheist, it is our natural evolutionary right as the superior race, as survival of the fittest for white, advanced, civilized societies to take all the savage lands of the planet Earth and annihilate them, Christianize and civilize them, and lead them into global prosperity, global colonization, slavery, and exploitation for the rest of the next 150 years. Obviously, that's what actually happened. But again, Bolivia is just Hawaii, but Hawaii was the first. That, as far as I know, Hawaii was the first country that America participated willingly in a coup to overthrow its legitimate government. And now America's racist, star-spangled fucking capitalist chickens are coming home to roost. It's doing our Hawaii to itself. It's gunboating itself. It's Bolivia-ing itself. It's Libya-ing itself. It's Syria-ing itself. It's Iraqi-ing itself. And that Hawaiian Dr. Keanu Sai, he was on the mountain and he's going, I participated in the overthrow of a country that was, trying to use assets for its own people, or whatever problematic as it was. It was not the place for the United States of America to bomb, attack, undo their people, kill, waterboard, torture, and overthrow their government and force them to work for starvation wages, or just come in and extract their resources and impoverish them and deindustrialize them, like they did to Hawaii in the 1800s. It is not the place, and I, as a native Hawaiian, have a duty to come back to Hawaii and forever support and educate and talk, and he has books about this, about what America has done and what we can do as Hawaiians to liberate ourselves from this system. And that's why he was on Mauna Kea, get himself arrested. And doing education at the Pu'uhuluhulu University, as the United States government deployed the biggest military and police attack on Native Hawaiians, and the biggest military police action in the history of the territory, illegal state, or even the pre-American Hawaii, or pre-America colonized Hawaii. It's the biggest. 8,000 Hawaiians are arrested. Like I talked about this a lot, but it's important. 8,000 Hawaiians are arrested. They brought the military. They brought armed assault rifles, not lethal assault rifles, obviously. Militarized vehicles. The U.S. military, National Guard. You had B-52A Straddle Fortress dropping bombs. You had Black Hawk choppers flying over our fucking elders' tents, keeping 76-year-old Hawaiians awake at 3 a.m. in the morning, flashing the lights, right? Psychological warfare, all the military tactics, psyops. They tried COINTELPRO. They tried to like divide and conquer, have Hawaiians infiltrate and try to break up, cause divisions, like leftist infighting. It's just the CIA doing its job. It's very easy because it's again 76% reactionary, white, suburban, or slightly downwardly mobile, professional, managerial, fucking white people that read some Marx one time, and it's not that hard to break them up, unfortunately. But in Hawaii, it was much harder for Hawaiians because the solidarity is much more deep, it's much more radical. It's in the bones. It's like America has killed, banned our language, crushed our culture. Not at the level of radical revolutionariness of Vietnam, because they're like literally murdering us right now with bombs. But the solidarity of the Hawaiian community is beyond just I read a thing in a book and I'm not doing so good, but I'm still doing okay, and I would like to make $20 an hour, or I would like to have a communism someday. Oh no, I'm actually getting arrested now. I'm gonna run away. Oh no, I could get $5,000 on Patreon and get some clout on Twitch or YouTube. Oh, I'm gonna stop being revolutionary and go sell out Pearls of the Round and make hipster craft brewery beer with underpaid Mexican labor with all of my communist propaganda Patreon money. So so Hawaiians actually kicked white people from America. There were anarchists that came to the island and Marxist-Leninists, white people, but mostly anarchists that came to Hawaiian and Instagram photo takers. Some of them are liberal Instagram photo takers. Some of them are leftists. They're going, oh, the white leftists of America, we want to help you out. But it's like, A, stop bringing guns to the mountain. That's not how we're doing this action. B, stop trying to grab clout on this mountain. That's not what we're doing. C, you are actually disrupting what our actual action, and you need to be. And they were removed from the mountain because guess what? The Native Hawaiians have a more radical solidarity for all the reasons I just mentioned, and they're not in this for a fucking fun game and some clout, and maybe I can get some money to pay my insulin bill or have a little career, I'm not saying everybody in the Western left does that, but there are a lot. You can see them flippity flopping. Oh, is the right wing hot now? Let me do that. Oh, is the left? Oh, let me sell some fucking newspapers at this action and not actually do anything to decolonize the indigenous people of the Wet'suwet'en territory. Now, there are a lot of people that have radical empathy, and they're doing their best to be on the front line with Black Lives Matter, to be on the front line with the indigenous stuff. But your country is full of reactionary people, America and Canada, 76 million at least. And that's just the Trump supporters. That's not even the Biden voters. So, but long story short, that's a material reality that has to be acknowledged, though. That's the difference between that's a material difference between Hawaii, Bolivia. Now, there's a lot of problems in Hawaii for sure. It's not like a perfect state. We have my own family. Like I just mentioned, Hawaiians who have literally sold out to whiteness. There are Hawaiians who have sold out to the tourism industry for sure. That happens. That's a major problem. I would say the majority of actually the boomer generation of my family have sold out. They said, we have to be Western capitalists now, and I hate it. My parents are currently like dying for their colonizer. It's sick and sad. But that's not the topic of this thing. I want to get through this before the end of the stream. So let's keep going with this. These are important factors, though. When we're talking about what will happen on January 20th and after that, but especially January 20th, this historical material reality and the differences between. Now, we can look at history to look at what happened in Bolivia, what happened in Hawaii, what happened in Iraq, what happened in Kuwait, what happened in Libya, what happened in Vietnam, what happened in China, even under in Mao, before that, after that, where it is now. Very complicated. I don't want to talk too much about that, but because I know it's very hard to talk about that, particularly in the West. But when you're applying these different historical scenarios to the present, right? we have to acknowledge these material, cultural differences, you know, economic differences, statehood, non-statehood, imperial metropole at the fringes of empire, history of fascism, history of, history of colonialism. Who are the people? How do the people identify? Not because the people genetically, again, it's not a DNA thing, right? Again, I'm part German, Irish, Scottish, by the blood quantum of colonizer, which is all about genocide, about breeding out, and the pedigree of the Indians being diluted until we can take all their land by breeding them out, basically. Kill the Indian, save the man. So part of the kill the Indian, save the man. Or it's not really, it's a kill the Indian, kill the Indian. It's really what it is. That's Canada dropping you fucking off of a fucking third floor police department elevator shaft, or the Hawaii HPD fucking murdering 6 times more Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders than white people. But part of it is also blood quantum. And so I'm technically, a variety, German, Irish, Scottish, somewhere back a percentage Choctaw Indian, but I would not claim, I'm not practicing with that culture and community, which is what it means to be living and practicing that. But somewhere in my ancient heritage, I have some Choctaw, and Hawaiian, Japanese, etc. But that's not what that's a colonizer way of identifying. Oh, so you're 1/8 Hawaiian, or you're 1/4 Hawaiian, or 5/16, you're 1/4 Japanese, you're 3 30-seconds Irish, you're 4 30-seconds British, or 10 1/16 Choctaw, you're 1/5/16 German, 1/3 or 1/4 Portuguese, and this and this and this, and then you put it in your little census thing. That's not not identified as a native Hawaiian. Now I acknowledge that I was educated in the white supremacist capitalist Death Star training facility that was a Ivy League feeder school, grade school and high school, that cost $20,000 a year, and that's a lot of nonsense in my head. And I've lived in Honolulu, Hawaii, which is, I was trained to believe that Hawaiians were an extinct population, and I'm basically 3/5 of a person. But I can try to be as white and American as possible, and I should put my hand over my heart and just profess undying loyalty to the United States, Western liberal capitalist democracy. But like that's the way that I was raised for more than half of my life, I would say. Soon it will be half of my life, but and that's a part of the reality of Hawaii. There's a lot of people like me. I'm not the only person, right? So that's a complicating factor of any kind of movement to socialism, any kind of movement to a liberated. People ask, what would it take to liberate Hawaii? Part of it will be liberating Hawaiians from their own colonial brain programming, their colonial conditioning, their capitalist Americanization. That's a big part of it. That's part of everything that I do. That's part of what Dr. Keanu Sai, who participated in literal overthrow of non-white peoples for their resources and murder of their people in military war of aggression. That's part of his decolonization too, is figuring out how to not be a stormtrooper anymore, right? That's part of your decolonization of your brain, is whether you're American, you're Canadian, or whoever you are, is how to not be a stormtrooper anymore, because that's who you are. You have to accept, first of all, that you are a subject of the empire first, and you fight and you work, and your tax dollars provide for the empire. Your existence as a subject in the empire, your landlord money that goes to the landlord is benefiting the capitalist and neo-feudal post-capitalist banking, mega banking, disgusting plutocracy. And you have to accept that you benefit from it. Sometimes you're hurt by it, but you also benefit from it. At least you're not in Iraq. And that's a long, hard, difficult fight that everybody has to go through a variety of stages of grief, loss, anger, rage, denial, sadness. Loss of you will be split from your family. Your family will disown you. Members of them, them. You know how you know this? Because you can look at the demographics of America who are pro-Trump, pro-Biden, or apolitical, which is siding with the empire, and many people will disown you. I mean, you can try to radicalize it, but the truth is, most of the people that are older are probably never going to be radicalized. They're too comfortable. They're too set in their ways. It's unfortunate. Some people can, but many won't, and it's gonna be painful You know, if you're trans and you come out and your family are transphobic and they're anti-LGBTQ+, you know this already. You know that you will lose these people, your family, people, members of your family, members of your community, jobs you might have gotten, university educations you might have gotten, opportunities to make more money, make $20, $30 an hour will be lost. But I mean, that's why I don't understand. It's harder. If you are from a privileged white background, richer, upper middle class family, it's gonna be harder. It will. It's a sacrifice. It's more of a sacrifice. I mean, not that it's harder, not that it's easy for somebody who is a native Hawaiian and poor or something, but you're gonna lose. It will cost you things. It will cost white America. It will cost middle class America. It will cost Canada things to deal with this problem. And part of it, and that's the default for most of America and Canada and the rest of the settler colonial countries and most of Europe really is to just muddle through and let's not rock the boat, which is not being anti-racist, not being anti-imperialist, not being anti-capitalist is ultimately siding with the empire. So, you know, it's hard to say what's going to happen on January 20th, but this is what's coming home to roost. Is you don't want to address even the Republicans and the neoliberals. They didn't want to address their own, even within the white community, if you can call it that, even within the Republican Party, these rifts between the rich, the billionaire class, and the middle and upper middle class, petty bourgeois and bourgeois, working and small business owner, capitalist white supremacists, or just white community, who are now pissed the fuck off, and now they're gonna come to your capital, and now they're in your military, now they're in your police. They've metastasized throughout your government, throughout your police, throughout your military, throughout your business communities, but particularly the small business communities, throughout your rural areas in particular. And Biden is not gonna drain any. They're looking at Biden. This guy isn't draining anything. He's not. This guy is not gonna heal anything. This guy is the guy who sent us into all these fucking wars to lose our legs and our wives and our lives and our children and our sanity and our ability to sleep at night without seeing the faces of the dead children that we fucking shot 30-06 rounds through the heads of. And this has been coming for a long time. Whereas the police is a much more difficult issue because let me go through the Bolivia part. I'm almost done here. Okay, it's 9/11. Okay, let me read a couple chat before I keep going. I don't like to talk about certain people, but I was speaking to my father about what happened to Capitol, and he thinks Russia has to do with it. And I'm like, here we go again with the same song and dance. Yeah. So even if you have people in America that are not white supremacists, they are deeply disinformed, they're diseducated. Even if they might make a better decision, if they think America is literally being attacked by Russia, that's gonna get a lot of military. That's gonna get a lot of police. It's gonna get a lot of military. It's gonna get a lot of people who have training to a point, and they're at the edge of their rope. They're in COVID-19. They got cabin fever. They're like, I gotta do something. I am sick of this. I'm losing my healthcare. I'm gonna do something radical. And then you throw at them, oh, it's Russia. Oh, it's China. They're invading our country. They're plotting with the Hondurans, the Honduran government to send all of these refugees up. You can put any kind of conspiracy. This is why. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they shut Trump down. They shut QAnon down. They platform media and social media wide censorship. America doesn't. It was always a joke that had freedom of speech, but now it's like overt, publicly. No, there's no freedom of speech. You guys are all gone. They could have done that at any time, but again, America also didn't. Let's just muddle through and make a lot of billions of dollars, allowing QAnon and 5G causes COVID and all, and the Russians and the Chinese are all conspiracy, and we got to defend America. Let's just make billions of dollars in Facebook, in Instagram, in Twitter, in CNN. CNN, MSNBC, and Fox made billions of dollars of coverage, admitted by their own CEOs, covering Donald Trump. They created fucking Donald Trump, and all of the right wing, far right, and all right. They created this shit. You could have at any time just said, we're not going to cover Donald Trump. But they made too much. Mark Zuckerberg made too many billions of dollars pushing far right across the planet. Breitbart and Fox News 10 times. They made too much fucking money doing that. Now, oh my goodness, do we make too much money doing that? Now our own country is getting crude. Oh my goodness, it's only supposed to happen in Libya and Bolivia, and it's like no, this is working really well. Now they're trying to roll it back real fast. right? They're trying to like just shut it all down off of all their platforms, and then that's how you know the left has not actually had a real threat to the power, the ruling class. Because if they did, they'd all do what they did to Trump on every platform. And then you try to make another platform, they shut that platform down. Parler gets shut down. You try to make another platform, and it just gets vaporized, right? That's the power that they did. Oh, you try to make like something like, you know, it'll be harder to shut down Mastodon because it's not centralized, right? But you know, I mean, that's the level of power that the neoliberal, the corporate elite don't have millions of trigger pullers at their beck and call, right? Nancy Pelosi, like, what do I have? Oh no, I'm in the bed with all of Silicon Valley. Let me tell all my friends, Mark Zuckerberg. Nancy goes back, having her 300 boxes full of gold-plated ice cream in her COVID bunker, with right next to Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, right, in California, and other tech billionaires and Bill Gates. Hey, Elon and Bill and Mark Zuckerberg, come to my house and let's have some ice cream. And thanks for the millions of dollars you got for me to do nothing for the military. Give all the money to the military and don't do anything for the masses of Americans. But can you save me from all of these armed Trump supporters? And then Mark's like, okay, well, I guess I can wipe them off of my Facebook and Instagram. And Twitter was like, oh, well, I guess I could delete Trump's account. And then Google's like, well, I guess we could like limit searches for QAnon or just wipe it off of our algorithms. I mean, does that help? We'll see. We'll see if it helps. I don't know. It might not be enough. It might be too. It might, you know. And the thing is, a lot of the tech community are not Trump supporters. There are a lot of like lefter or progressive or non-cis white straight dudes who are actual programmers, and so they're not necessarily leftists. All of them. Some of them are. And so there's a little bit more support there, but not fully, not necessarily. You got people in the intelligence agencies. You got Navy. Navy is the tech of the U.S. military and the Air Force, and you got Navy and Air Force personnel that are in places in the United States government and corporations, which are the same thing because America is the United Corporations of America, that are giving and feeding information to the January 6th right-wing coup attempt side and the QAnon side. So you have splits in the intelligence community. Again, this is by the minutes of the CNN. There are splits in every level of the U.S. government. And the information, which includes the U.S. corporations, that includes the tech, that includes the military, that includes the police, that includes the officials. Obviously, you got multiple QAnon, right? QAnon supporters literally in the Congress, right? They were just voted in. So you got big problems. You got big problems, big time. Okay. Let me go back to. Let me try to finish this. I keep getting off of the topic of my Bolivia thing, but let me go back to that. So sections of the military are very pro. This is the important part. So sections of the military are very pro Mas, traveling with Adriana Rodriguez, senator. So again, they get stopped at a checkpoint. You don't know. Is this military side? Is this soldier and this crew at this checkpoint, coming out of the guard box with assault rifles, like 6 military personnel surrounding your car? Are they pro-fascist? Are they QAnon? Or are they in support of the senators and the leadership? Are they pro-Mas? Or are they... Because why? Because you got a balkanized military. And if they are... And you could be dead, or you could be held hostage. You could be in a prison for years, or you could go through. And so this reporter, Ali Vargas, was saying in Bolivia, after a United States-backed fascist coup, he said every time we would stop, it would be nerve-wracking. We'd be like, are we gonna be dead now? Are we gonna be captured? And then somebody would come out, and then the soldier would look at you and say, you're that senator, right? You're Nancy Pelosi. You're AOC, aren't you? And then the soldier would go, we're gonna win. Or if for Mas, it'd be like, oh, you're a moving towards socialism, Mas, Evo Morales friend. We're gonna win. Viva Evo. Right? If you're lucky. But sometimes you would be in the other. You would be in another. And there's nothing overtly showing. There's nothing on their clothing that says. It's not like you have people with Confederate flag necessarily. Like some people are wearing Confederate flags, but it's not like people have the normal. Loyal to the official. The Mas government has a blue uniform, and then the fascist military sympathizers have a red uniform. No. It's. You don't know. That one soldier could be radicalized to to the fascist side. They could be in support of the coup government. Maybe they're kind of like, I don't know what side I'm on, but I'm just gonna let you through. It's just broken. And then if you happen to be in the wrong, if the soldier happens to be the wrong one in uniform, the thing is, all those QAnon shaman, right? The people with the 1488 swastika, the people with the Camp Auschwitz T-shirt, right? The people with the Nazi symbol in the Capitol, right? Let in by the police, let in by the military. When they are in their normal everyday job, you know, they are in a uniform, and it says, you know, it says LAPD, it says NYPD, it says, you know, Police Department of Kansas or whatever. It says U.S. military, it says U.S. Navy. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. You know, some of them are just out there like, oh yeah, I'm fucking Confederate, Nazi, whatever. You know, I'm a QAnon, America Boogaloo boys, Oath Keepers, Proud Boys. But some of them are, they're not out broadcasting it. You're not gonna, you don't know. You don't know how many there are. You can't know. You know, but there are millions. There are at least 76 million. Not all of them are as radical as those people, but there are at least 76 million supporters and sympathizers who think that the election was stolen, was illegitimate. It was stolen by the corrupt Democratic and liberal establishment and colluding Republicans who did. The Republicans and Democrats did line up. And they said, you know what? This far right, this alt right, this has to go. Donald Trump is gone. Biden is president. So in their mind, the United States has had a coup. In their mind, the United States has had a coup, right? In 76 million people's minds, or maybe not every single one of them think that maybe some of them accept that they lost, but in millions of people's minds in the United States has undergone a coup from the far left, or from the Democrats, or from the globalists, or the reptilian overlords, or the military elite, their generals that send them off to the war. Whatever they think, they already think that this is an illegitimate government, and they would not accept it, and they are taking actions. They are taking actions. They have taken an action. They're taking like one of the biggest actions you can take, which is what? Seizure of the fucking Capitol successfully. That's important. It wasn't like they got chased away. No. They successfully took the Capitol, even if it's for a few hours. That's a huge symbol that says that the United States police and military, at least some of them, are willing to let us. We have big sympathy in the U.S. police and military, and it's going to be interesting to see. Now there are calls for the heads to roll, for the commanding officers of the federal police, of the military. We need to weed out all of these reactionary elements, and we'll see, America. We'll see. Hey, what happens when you let an entire country plunge with 50% fucking sea of despair, and everybody's sick, tired, dying, healthcareless, houseless, fucking in all of your for-profit wars that don't need to be fought, with fucking PTSD, killing children. We'll see. We'll see if you can fucking Nancy Pelosi's claps can undo some pissed off fucking Iraq veterans. We'll see if you can do it. I don't know if you can. I don't know if the generals coming out. The generals are all the fuckers too. This is the thing: is the generals don't have military. The generals are pampered as descendants of America's feudal dynasties, shadow feudal dynasties, who get trained at West Point, don't fucking do a day of armed combat in their life, come out with their strong jaw general face, and then give little talks about how we're bombing Afghanistan here, and we've cleansed the rebels there, and they don't do any fucking fighting. They collect 7-figure fucking salaries and then go to fucking fancy dinners with all of Congress, and then lobby, and then go on fucking Davos, and then figure out what country we're gonna overthrow. They don't fucking do the fighting. The people who do the fighting are the people that are out there at QAnon. A lot of them are the QAnon people. They're the lower and middle and upper middle white segment of the Republican Party, and some of them are Democratic Party. Some of them are like don't really affiliate either way. But they are not necessarily going to come because some general came out and said, son, this is the U.S. military and you need to go home. They're looking at some of them are looking at the general. These generals are in league with the Satanist, whatever, conspiracy, pedophilia rings, or whatever. These generals are in league with the corrupt power in the United States. That's not going to be enough. It was enough. It was enough in June. It might not be enough in January. It was enough in June to stop full-on violence and civil war in the United States. It might not be enough in January. More people are fucking fed up. It's a year into COVID. Everybody's dying. Everybody's sick. Everybody's pissed off. People are like, fuck, I'm gonna go out in the blaze. Some of them are like, I'm gonna go out in the blaze of motherfucking glory. You know, some people. And that's dangerous. That's also that's the reality of the United States. So, back to this. Camacho's father, a millionaire, was offering bribe to cops to turn against evil. Oh yeah. So the police in Bolivia. This is another important factor. The police is a much more different issue in Bolivia because they're massively corrupt. Like, hey, it's kind of like the United States, right? Where the police will do anything for $1 million motherfucking pension and $160,000 a year, right? And it's just like a bunch of fucking leg breakers, right? They're on the take of the highest bidder, right? Kind of like America. That's a really corrupt police. Yeah, just killing and disappearing 7,000 people in Chicago alone in less than 10 years under Barack Obama and black Democratic mayor and black Democratic governor, right? Corrupt police, check. The police is a much more difficult issue because they're massively corrupt. During and after Evo Morales, they will move to the side that funds them the best. The apolitical. Who's gonna fund them? That's why Biden is like, I'll give $300 million more to the police. That's one way. One way that you might be able to buy off some cops. You just go, hey, police budgets. I know that the Black Lives Matter is saying defund the police. That's why Obama's over there. I don't defund the police. Why would we do that, right? But Biden can go, hey, no. In fact, every cop is gonna get double their salary this year. Such a hardworking cops killing and mass imprisoning black people. Look at me, I'm Joe Biden. I quadrupled the prison population with my crime bill. I'm one of the biggest mass incarcerated of black people and brown people, right? Filling the prisons, right? For the prison industrial complex. And I'll give you job security. I'll give you billions of dollars. I'll double your pension. Whatever you want. Just protect me against QAnon. And all of the, just save me from the QAnon shopping cops, please. So maybe the police can be bought off. I don't know though. The police really like Trump. He has more support for them, but I mean, Biden, is that good for the left? Absolutely not. Is that good for black people, black lives, and leftists in America who are getting beaten and fucking killed by cops and in prison? No. So I don't know if that will work. They'll probably try it. I don't know. We'll move to the side that funds Camacho's father, a millionaire, was offering bribe to cops to turn against evil. So that's one thing. The fascists were offering millions. Let me say that again. Camacho, who was who? The far-right military fascist, the kind of like military guerrilla leader, military kind of militia, like far-right fascist guerrilla military leader, kind of very more grassroots, kind of like not the QAnon shaman, but a grassroots, like violently militarized leader, not really a supporter of the neoliberal or the Áñez government themselves. And Camacho, his father in Bolivia, was offering millions to bribe cops to turn against Evo Morales. So this is going to happen in the United States. So Biden is going to one weapon the neoliberal elite and the Neofeud elite have is money. They have infinite money. So they're going to throw a lot of money at cops. A lot of money at cops. Probably at the military too. Are you a poor? Do you need? Hey, VA. Did you wait 6 months to get that critic? You know, like the hippie Terminator, right? Oh, I'm just here from my weekly, like, you know, how you holding up, Marine? I'm just here for my weekly therapy credits and social security check. 2 tours and the second Dresden firebombing really took me to the heart of darkness. You know, no shit. You know, like you've been sitting are you a veteran? You've been waiting 6 months to get a goddamn operation. Are you like being denied healthcare? Are you homeless? Here, veterans. Here, military. Have lots of money. Have even more money than, not that they need a lot more, but here, have some more money. Here, and you're gonna have to pay the soldiers too. Not just give it to Lockheed Martin, because that's usually what happens. You have to figure out a way. That's the problem with the neoliberal is America is so corrupt that they even try to get $8.7 billion from the federal government to help with COVID vaccinations, and like 90% of that gets sucked away into fucking corrupt, or it just gets sucked away into fucking profits and stolen into embezzlement in the state, federal, and then the hospital system, which is all fucking broken plutocracy, right? It's a wealth extraction scheme. So you have to be able to get money. That's part of why I actually think the $1,200 and the $600 payments that have gone out is a good test to see if the highest level of the federal government, the central bank, and the treasury in the federal government can bypass all of the capitalist fucking suits and all the corrupt executives and officials that would try to steal bits of that money all along the way, and just go straight from the central bank of the United States, bam, right into the account of citizens, right? So that's actually I mean, this is like, not because I stand fucking, obviously I don't stand the fucking neo-feudal. If I need more money, I have my central bank printed fucking, you know, Jimmy Diamonds of the world and the fucking, you know, Jay Powell's. I don't, you know, not because of that, but because that's an interesting strategy. Will be what you do is you just take the money, you say, are you you know, you just use that same strategy. We go, are you a former police or active duty police? Are you military or active? Are you a National Guard, Army, Marine, veteran, you know, a National Guard, Air Force? Boom, you go from the central bank, here's $20,000 straight into your account. No questions asked. Please support the United States Biden administration. $20,000. You know, I mean, just as an example, right? Oh, you're a general. Oh, you're somebody. You know, here's a lot of money from Uncle Joe Moneybags. Here. I mean, it's what Camacho did. Try to bribe the police with money. I mean, that's what they do for, you know, kind of like would-be progressive socialist Democrats. Just throw a bunch of money at them. For pros of the round table. It works on Americans. Hey, stop being a leftist. Have a bunch of money. Okay, I'll just stream about stupid Final Fantasy 7 takes and do leftist infighting for $10,000 a month. Keep money, please. Not George Soros. It's coming from the fucking neoliberal elite and the federal fucking government and, you know, whoever else wants to pay off people. PragerU. Right here, PragerU, $10,000 a month. Just attack the left. Oh, I had such a horrible time. I got canceled, and the left is terrible, and socialism is a failure. It'll never work. Doom her out with me while we play fucking Among Us. Or no, Nancy Pelosi is great. Really, it's really awesome. Let's play Among Us on fucking Twitch and talk about how great Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and we need to stop asking for the defunding of police and stop asking for $15 and $30 minimum wage and stop just shh. It's gonna come. It's just let the neoliberal. I mean, I'm sorry, Joe Biden. Come on, Comrade Biden and Comrade Nancy Pelosi, save our government. Never mind the squad thing. I mean, why would we force the votes for Medicare for all or anything like that? No, let's just we'll maybe have a little bit, you know. So you just use that system, just shoot money straight from the neoliberal billionaire and multi-hundred millionaire elite and the DC elite, straight into the hands of the military and the police that you want to bribe away from the Capitol. And you go, oh, they're like, oh wow, 100. Oh, you can actually give me some healthcare. I'm not. You know what? My leg's acting up a little today. I'm sorry, QAnon Shaman. I don't know if I'm going to come down with millions of people to the Capitol on January 20th and try to overthrow the United States government and capture all the senators. I'm sorry, my leg's feeling a little weird. I'm going to go take this giant $100,000 bag of money and not do a coup. Like, for real. I mean, that's one strategy that I'm sure the U.S. federal government is looking at right now. It's like, you know, censor all of their ability to talk on the internet. There never was free speech in America. Free speech is a lie. It's a white settler myth. But then also give all the money that you can to all the elements that are trying to undo your government that you can. It's what America does. That's what you go. You go to Libya. You go, hey, random puppet. You want to make $10 million? Here. Do whatever we say. Take your military. Overthrow this government and give us all your resources. And here's $10 million. You can do the same thing to Americans. Just go like, here, don't do a coup. Here's millions of dollars. Or maybe not millions, but here's like 10. Now, you can't do too much. Otherwise, people start expecting to have healthcare and expecting to have housing. Like actual, like not falling apart. 3 bedrooms for a family of 4 as opposed to like everybody living on fucking mommy and daddy's couch. And you can't have that. So you don't want to give them too much. Not too much. Otherwise, they might actually think that they won't have a livable country. But now America, you know, it's weird because actually the bargaining process is it's come from the fascist side, which is how it always had to be. America was never gonna. Actually, this is a perfect example. I brought up that America, if it would never have a left revolution, America, if anything, would have a fascist. It would never have a left revolution. It would have a fascist coup and overthrow of its government, which is what's happening. It's what's happened, really. It's what the bargaining process is between not between a 200 million unionized general striking workers, teachers, doctors, nurses, blockaded highways, shut down Vegas to JFK and LaGuardia and every airport, every seaport grounded, no Amazon Baby Yoda t-shirts, Mandalorian Funko Pops coming in into any Amazon wish list, no Amazon. It's not a general strike like I'm talking about. It's not a left wing with anti-racist, anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist, collective worker action. No. What is it? It's millions of bourgeois, upper middle class white people and middle class and some lower class white people wanting to make America fucking white and racist again, and with fucking swastikas under your government. I mean, that's just... You're 76% white. I'm sorry. That's who you are. Now, hopefully you won't be that one day, but I mean... America that would have... I really think America has like at least a decade or more. It's probably like a generation of work to even get close to being in a position to have anything like what Bolivia has. Or Vietnam, you know, if it ever could. At least that. So, be happy with your fascist revolution. That's what they're calling it. They're calling it the second Donald Trump and many of them, they call it the second revolutionary war. This is the second revolution to undo the tyranny of the liberals and the Republican sympathizers. And maybe the Russians and the globalists or the reptilian overlords or what the fuck ever, the Chinese moon Nazi ray gun that shoots 5G into hardworking American lungs and causes them to cough their lungs up, or the Wuhan flu or whatever, right? But it's a revolution to save our country, and it's not from the left. So that's important. Anyway, that's the big stuff about that's mostly about Bolivia. Let me go back and read this chat. They are in another Trump, but worse will come as long as soon. Our relationship with the U.S. is cringeworthy. When the U.S. says jump, we do suck up to them. It's a servile relationship. Unfortunately, the Australian government, he's America's little puppet, little pet dog, cowboy, doing all kind of terrible things and imperialism. Big deals with Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon for military hardware that doesn't really help Australians at all. Trying to drum up, war footing and military-industrial propaganda with, with China and whoever else they can to sell more bombs and guns and shit. And also, it's unfortunate what's happening in Australia. So, Australia also has it's like America. It has a lot of white, racist, settler, middle class, upper middle class, bourgeois people who like the empire. Make a lot of money selling arms. I know an Australian I know actually as an indigenous person in Australia, actually half Maori, indigenous New Zealander, Kiwi for the Australians, indigenous person saying, I've worked around financial, everybody, and I know so many Australian arms dealers, it's disgusting. And they're walking around, they're in their yoga pants, and they have like a peace and love, like a peace and love symbol, like a hippie peace symbol, and like a little even a kente cloth or something kind of appropriative. But they've got all this like liberal and progressive stuff, and they're going in to have their Starbucks and have the little exercise and do a little meditation. But they're like, what do you do for a living? And she's like, oh, I'm an arms dealer. Yeah, I sell missiles, tomahawk missiles, cluster bombs. It's like just selling this. Oh yeah, I go on Twitter and I put out I try to drum up hostilities and try to kind of justify arms sales, and we get pretty good salaries here in Australia fucking selling America's bombs and guns to the government of Australia so that the people have less and less. But I make good money as an arms dealer in Australia. And I was like, and he was like, this, what the fuck? What the fuck? And he's like, oh yeah, there's lots of bankers, high finance people, and yeah, we just do whatever America says. Take all of its dark money, support hostilities in this area, in the Pacific region. And that was interesting. That's from Veselikov, also known as Tali, maker of Umurangi Generation, a cyberpunk indigenous-made game about living in a shitty colonial future and trying to resist it. It's like, yeah, why are there so many fucking... But they don't look like the Cyberpunk 2077 Militech, like stiff suit, like all kind of like look like dark glasses, like a big mob boss. I'm an arms dealer. I'm selling all these arms. I'm a Militech. No, they look like fun, happy, fun-loving. Could be even looking like a leftist. Even with like some raised fist thing. But I'm actually selling bombs and guns, causing warfare, and people to die in countries. Oh no, I'm just dealing arms. Oh, put another shrimp on the barbie. Deal some arms, mate. Kill some indigenous people. Take all the resources. Well, no, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Oh, I'm sorry. Did that bomb blow up Black Lives? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. That wasn't me, mate. I'm just an Australian here. I didn't mean to kill that black life. But I got to make $200,000 in this Australian. I've got to pay my mortgage, mate. How am I going to pay my mortgage if I'm not working for Goldman Sachs, laundering the money and taking the money and using it to buy the bonds and stuff? How am I going to make the money and then selling the coal and the big fossil fuel money. How am I gonna make the money in Australia, mate? Doing the empire's bidding. So that's what Naftali said. Is like, you know, happy-go-lucky arms dealer, you know, wearing a Black Lives Matter pin, coming out of the yoga studio in the sweat lodge, you know, with the ayahuasca ritual, going, oh, it's so sad what happening to people of color, and it's so sad this war in Iraq has just killed somebody. But you're working for the company that you're a tanky, but you literally sell tanks. You know, you like sell like United States arms dealer weapons corporation tanks. And he's like, somebody, I think Daniel Denver was like, you're going on the social media, like attacking some Asian person for being a tanky, and you're literally selling tanks. Like here is your actual job. Like you look up like a blue check mark on Twitter from Australia. It's like, this is your actual job description. You literally sell tanks and missiles to fucking kill people and take the resources in Africa and the Middle East and in Asia now. And you're going around calling every people tanky. Interesting. Interesting. But it's okay because they have all the aesthetics of progressivity and left. So you get your anarchist tank dealer. It's an it was a very non-hierarchical tank. Now, okay, there are no hierarchies in this tank. Very nice Raytheon, Lockheed Martin aircraft. There are no hierarchies in this tank. The tank fires peace and love. The tank fires mutual aid rounds when they hit buildings. Those aren't deaths. Those are people being mutually aided by anarchist fire. It sets a fire in their heart, and now they're all, holding each other's hands, being peace and love, and they started food, not bombs. Well, I mean, more like bombs, not food. Bombs, not food. Because why would you need food? And they become anarchists. We shoot it at the black and the Muslim and the indigenous and the people we go up into the regions of Xinjiang, and we go up into or Afghanistan, and we Australians slit the throats of Muslims, but it's okay. We're anarchist throat slitters of Muslim people. We're just trying to liberate their voice, their vocal cords. I mean, from their neck coming out, bleeding all over the sidewalk, children. But it's okay because we're anarchists. We're anarchist, anti-tanky bomb dealers. Selling anarchy tanks. It's a great strategy. It's what Voss's strategy. Really great, making a lot of money doing that. Doing war propaganda, Destiny. I mean, a lot of people do this. They really, really good job doing selling tanks, going yelling at other countries, and pushing war propaganda to their own people, so that their own people side with taking another $2 billion or $10 billion and throwing it into the military. So good job. Good job there. Real good. Anyway, back to the United States. Let me just go through this real fast. It's 9:41. We gotta get off of here very soon, but I'm gonna just go through this real quick. So it's not just me. This is stuff that like CNN. This is known radical far left by Vietnamese standards. Communist rag CNN. Terrifying scope of Capitol attack becoming clearer as Washington locked down for Biden's inauguration. So again, this is not me. This is known by the United States. They've even admitted this now. This is embarrassing for them, but this is the reality. Federal authorities are piecing together a chilling picture of January 6th insurrection that reveals major security failures and political challenges ahead of President-elect Biden, even as they race to ensure the safety of U.S. leaders in next week's inauguration. Emerging details. I should make this a little smaller because, I'll put it over here. Okay. And I'll zoom in on this. Okay, so federal authorities are piecing together a chilling picture of January 6th insurrection. It reveals major security and intelligence failures, underscores profound fissures in American society, and hints at the political challenges ahead for President-elect Joe Biden, even as they race to ensure the safety of U.S. leaders and next week's inauguration. So, again, they're admitting there is a deep security threat. I'm not trying to be alarmist about this. I'm not trying to just doomsay this thing. I'm not trying to, you know, this is by the admittance, and not just this is Washington Post. Okay, you can look. This is, you know, this is not secret. Emerging details paint an even grimmer picture than the shocking images of violence broadcast live around the world last week. Evidence suggests planning by the insurrectionists, and there are concerned that they may have received support from Capitol Police, current and former members of the military, and even some members of Congress. So again, when I said the police, not all of the police, elements of the police, that when I say balkanization and schisms and splits in countries, this is how coups happen. A coup, people think of, oh, it's a coup, it's like everybody, like millions of people die and there's a huge violence, and every single person on one side, you're for the established government or you're against it, and then everybody dies. No. The coup can just be kind of quietly bifurcations within the government, people who are like losing support in different areas in different states, between even from one shift to the next, even quiet elements, and then suddenly a big flashpoint of violence happens, and then it's unclear who is the president. It's unclear. Venezuela, it was unclear. Wait, is it the capital? Is it these group of far-right people that have separated and made their own Congress, and they're headed by self-declared president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido? Or is it Maduro, his executive branch, the Congress? The Congress broke in half, literally, and they had a separate capital. And a good 25% of the country, or 20% of the country, who are supportive of the white supremacist fascist end, said, Juan Guaido, this Congress, these are the legitimate, Maduro, illegitimate. But most of the country was like, no, actually Maduro is legitimate. He won the election fair and square. Actually had more voter turnout than America, even as unpopular. He wasn't, there were problems in Venezuela, there's sanctions, and the United States, you know, again, brown country, like, again, Hawaii, Bolivia, you got a brown country, highly educated, surpassing America in terms of social innovation, and then moving towards socialism, and America crush you, bomb you to the Stone Age, sanction you, starve your children, right? Starve 40,000 people to death, kill them with sanctions, deny medicine, people dying from lack of their diabetes medication, cancer medication, pharmaceutical drugs, just dying. Kind of like how Americans kill people with their lack of healthcare in America by the million. So, country splits. Now it's not like, and then the next day there's a huge war. No, country splits slowly. People are confused. Is Donald Trump president? Is Biden president? Right? Is Maduro president? Is Guaido? Who is president? People are in disagreement. Some segments of the country, parts of Venezuela, much more siding with Juan Guaido, but not identically. Not like each state is like, okay, this is Juan Guaido's country and this is Maduro's Venezuela. This is the Chavista Venezuela. This is the socialist indigenous Venezuela, and this is the white supremacist, fascist, United States-backed imperialist Venezuela puppet. No. Bits of the government and people are disagreeing and they're arguing, and it's unclear, and it's chaotic. It is chaotic. It's America, what did America want? They want chaos in Venezuela, so we can say, you see how horrible it is? Just let us have our way. Give it what we want, and we will stop these sanctions. We'll give you food. We'll let the medicine back in so your mommy doesn't die from her cancer. We'll let the medicine back in so you can get your disabilities treatment. You know, oh, you got elder mommy and daddy? Let America have what it wants, and America will give you mommy and daddy. Give your grandma her walker. You know, we'll let electricity in your country maybe one time. You know, you want to go on the internet? Let America have your way. Let America have America's way. Let daddy have his way in Venezuela, and we'll give you you want chaos? You want this? You don't want this, do you? Let us have our fucking way. That's how America does things. But that's what America is going to have. It's already having that. It should have been election night, Biden wins, Trump goes, okay, Biden is the next president, right? That's what happened from Bush to, Clinton to Bush. Clinton came out and said, or Gore came out and said, I concede. George W. Bush, as terrible IQ is bullshit, but as kind of uneducated and dumb as this dude is, I'm sorry y'all got the fucking uniter-in-chief, or this fucking clown who's gonna start the forever wars. But Biden Gore came out, the Democrat came out and said, on election night, November 6th, George W. Bush is president. His administration will govern the country at the federal level for the next 4 years. The next one, George Bush to Obama. George Bush, not the brightest guy, not the nicest guy, Republican. or who was running against him? I can't remember who was running against Obama. Was it Mitt Romney? I forget. Mitt Romney comes out, the Republican candidate comes out, said, on election night, congratulations to Barack Obama. It was a hard fight. There's a lot of mudslinging and terrible shit, and billions of dollars were spent trying to rig the Americans' minds into one direction or the other. And it was, but you are the winner. Obama's president, 2008 to 2016, right? 2016, Obama. It's next. Well, actually, it goes from it is Bush to Obama. Bush has to step down, and Obama takes president, right? The next one, Obama to Trump wins. The America's like, how the hell did Trump win? Holy, what the fuck? What? How did this fucking orange Oompa Loompa failed stake? He drove a university, multiple hotels, and a goddamn steak business nosediving into the ground. He's a fucking reality TV show host. He's an orange Oompa Loompa. He's a laughingstock. This is a comedian. This is a jester, not a goddamn president. But Obama administration, federal government, again, to preserve, not the democracy. America doesn't have democracy, remember, but to preserve to the rest of the world, and for the stability of the country, the idea that America has a functioning, stable government and a procession and exchange of power from one president to the next. Obama come out on election night, said Donald Trump is the winner and will be the next president of the United States. What does that do? And then the assurance to the masses of people. Some people are sad, they're disappointed. They wanted the Democrat to win. I forget who it was. Oh, Clinton. They wanted Clinton to win. They're like, what? Oh my God. Now there was divisiveness. So the Democrats also can take some of this. Democrats, CNN, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow were out there going, hey, you know what? Actually, the Russians rigged this election. This was a stolen election. Donald Trump is in collusion with the Russians. This is a fraudulent election. You remember this, right? You remember the Russiagate, right? And all of Black Lives Matter, the left, and the Occupy Wall Street, and these are all the leftists and the socialists and Bernie Sanders are all just like being brainwashed by Russians on Facebook ads and all this nonsense and all this shit. This is all this shit that America has always been coming back to roost, really. But and now the president, at least Obama, stepped down. But there was some divisiveness there, mostly from the liberal end, saying that Trump stole the election, blah 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 blah. Right? But the power did exchange without violence. Now what are the liberal, which is a bunch of what? Lockheed Martin lawyers, Wall Street traders, they're a bunch of fucking businessmen and accountants. So they're going to legal. We're going to sue Trump. We're going to impeach Trump. We're going to sue him. We're going to investigate. We're going to Paul Manafort. We're going to have lawsuits in the Supreme Court, and we're going to please stay alive, stay alive. What's your name? Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and take Trump down with your good, smart, liberal brain, Supreme Court rulings, which also rule in favor of the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, and put kids in cages with 6,000 shadow dockets a year. But anyways, but please, we're gonna litigate our way out of this, because that's the neoliberal solution, right? We're gonna third our way forward. And it was divisive, but it wasn't violent, right? It wasn't like the liberals are not gonna come down from their fucking brunch in their tower with their $300 ice cream and their hors d'oeuvres and their fucking yoga studio with their kale with indigenous fucking Bali made spirulina shake with Gwyneth Paltrow saliva in it and the blessing of Queen Pelosi, and they're not gonna come stop drinking their shakes to go do a coup or some shit, right? And, we're gonna sue you into oblivion. We'll hot take you into oblivion on Twitter. There was divisiveness, but it wasn't a violent. There was a transition of power from President Obama to Trump. Now with Trump, it's like we're not gonna go through any legal means. No, it's like I'm in power. I'm gonna take my supporters, and we are going to fucking storm this motherfucking Capitol. I mean, I will say this: that's a fucking gangster ass move. I mean, that's not really because he didn't do anything. He just fucking gave a fucking stupid speech, and he is a giant orange Oompa Loompa. But but that is a dangerous move, right? To actually try to violently do an actual violent treasonous coup against the United States to steal power to overthrow the United States government. That is some gangster ass shit. I will say that. Not in a good way though, and not in a competent way either necessarily. But we have to remember there are competent elements in amongst the Trump supporters. But anyways, Evidence suggests planning by insurrectionists, and there are concerns that they may have received support from Capitol Police, current and former members of military, and even some members of Congress. As the riots broke into the Capitol building, and some chanted, "Hang Mike Pence," which is something they chanted. Again, I'm not inciting anybody to violence. I don't want anybody to do anything. I don't want nobody to get hurt. Nobody do anything illegal ever in your life. Don't even fucking jaywalk. All right? Never do anything. Never pirate anything. Don't even like sing a pirate song. Okay? Don't do pirate shanties. That's illegal. Okay? Okay. Sex workers work, but don't do any illegal pirate shanties. That involve like pirating music and copyright infringement. Don't ever get DMCA'd by Elon Musk, because that means that you're like a war criminal. But this is what they were saying. Okay, I want to be that very clear. I'm not saying that what Donald Trump is good. It's a terrible thing. It's a horrific thing that he has done. Obviously, not that I love the U.S. empire particularly. I don't pretend like I do, but I don't want people to suffer and die. But this is what they were saying. I just want to kind of clarify that, because I'm going to say some things. As rioters broke into the Capitol building and some chanted, "Hang Mike Pence," the seditious mob ripped through the thin blue line. Many claim to revere kicking and beating police with their own batons, spraying them with chemical irritants, threatening to kill them. So they beat police with their own batons. So, spraying with irritants, threatening to kill them. Again, if this was Black Lives Matter, see what the ease with which the Capitol Hill rioters got into the Capitol just tells you that is the level of balkanization within the police and the military that already exists. That is a level of schism within that already exists. That is a level of solidarity that the police and the military have with each other against the senators and representatives of the United States federal government. Right? That's what it's showing you. It's showing you that if it comes down to it, big chunk. I don't think every police officer and the National Guard and the order people and the whatever federal military and police forces that were supposed to protect the people in the Capitol. Not every single one of them are necessarily QAnon supporter, but many of them backed off. You could see them opening gates. You could see them opening doors, just stepping back and going they have solidarity with each other as police and as military against even if they're not fully with QAnon, against the politicians, against the corporate class and the billionaire elite. And that's what I'm saying. The big business and the masses of the actual people, we do the hanging. Again, the Kruger, we do the hanging. The people that do the violence, the people who actually use the people who are the fist of the monopoly on violence, those people there's a rift there, and that rift is growing. The rift has been there, is growing, is stronger. And that's what the Capitol showed. It showed that even people that are not necessarily, some of the people that were in the Capitol Police and in the military and in the government officials, including some of the QAnon supporters within the U.S. federal government, were literally part of the action. It is laying much bare, which really it's really in a certain sense a gift, because it tells America and it tells the rest of the world who America really is, which is what? A white supremacist, fascist fucking police state. And much of its military and police, a broken democracy for sure, if it ever was one. Deeply white supremacist. You got people around the world, people in, whether it's people with swastikas taking a shit in the fucking Capitol. People in Europe, people in Germany, survivors, descendants of people who survived the Holocaust are like, what the fuck is happening? The most powerful country in the world has literal Nazis storming around in its capital with the backing of the police and military of the United States. That's an important fact. That I bring this up, people are like, oh no, America's not really fascist. No, you are. That's what this reveals. Not like 100% everybody's out there literally. But again, the Nazis didn't go around every second of the day for their entire life gassing all of the people for being Jewish. That happened at the very end of a long process of subhumanization, of cultural, of utilizing anger and pushing people in a direction of racism, of hatred. And then it was really like towards the end of a war when resources were running scarce, like they were utilizing the people the way that America utilizes black people in slavery to do work. I mean, it's more efficient. There's a book in Let's Put the Future Behind Us, I think, or it's one of the Jack Womack books, where the Nazis are talking to an American. The American says, "Why are you killing these people? It's more efficient to take the subhuman creatures like black people in our country or brown people in our country and utilize them for labor, like beasts of burden. If you kill them, you're not getting millions of dollars of farming, cotton picking, building of your electrical grid, building of your buildings in New York City. You could have them picking tobacco, working in the factories, making your bullets, that you're gonna use to shoot them, and the Nazis were doing that. They were using people who were considered subhuman as slave labor to build a lot of the tanks and bombs, and Ford made a lot of money doing this. Ford made billions of dollars, and so did the descendants of the Deutsche Bank and Volkswagen, who are alive today, who are the richest people in Germany are descendants of Nazis who made their billions on Nazi slave labor of Jewish people and other subjugated peoples, and they still have their billions. Germany is still a Nazi country. It's pretending like it's a liberal democracy. It's still a colonial country, which is a Nazi country, because fascism is colonialism. Colonialism is fascism. Colonialism is when white people do to black people what fascism is when the colonized people. Fascism is when white people do to colonized people do what they do to colonized people to other white people. Then it's fascism. Germany does this to the Bolivians. Germany does this to Africa. Europe is still a fascist place. They still have thousands of people dying at their borders, being paid by Germany and France and Europe and Britain. Well, not Britain. Britain's now broken off, and now it's just fucking MAGA Britain. Also fascist. All of Europe is still fascist, pretending to be suck them. You know this because they say shit like Muslim language are not prestigious. This is why we stop people from speaking dark languages in our schools in Germany, in France. This is why we don't allow these people to come across the border and we shoot them down in their boats off the Mediterranean for being dark. No. This what is happening in America is going to come home to the rest of the Western world. It is coming home to the rest of the Western world as we speak in COVID-19. But sooner or later, this is all going to be fucking paid for. Back to America. Once in the building, Washington Post reports. Okay, wait. Rioters broke into the Capitol building. Some wanted to hang Mike Pence. One policeman and 4 others died that day. And again, I will say, I condemn all violence. We should not be killing people, and it would be wrong to say anything otherwise. Right? I'm just reading what CNN is reporting here. Once inside the building, the Washington Post reports the insurrectionists came, and please don't say anything illegal in the chat. Okay? Don't say anything illegal. Don't do anything illegal. Never. The Washington Post reports the insurrectionists came within minutes of reaching the vice president, who whisked to safety his wife and daughter. Some had driven to the Capitol days earlier. Others had filled the vehicles with guns, ammunition, crossbows, machetes, and in one case, a note listing a congressman by name. So again, there were plans to kill or capture a congressman. They succeeded at getting in the Capitol. They just didn't succeed at getting the congresspeople. It was said that somebody in the QAnon, members of Congress were actually, it was believed after investigations that they were members of Congress that were sheltered, were in cahoots, in collusion with, like I said, government, police, and military, in collusion with the Washington rioters, the coup attempt, who were giving information of the locations of senators and congresspeople to, and at one point they got very close. They got within like 100 feet of Mike Pence, I think, or 100 feet of Mike Pence or one of the senators or congresspeople. They almost got him. And part of that, and they would not have gotten this far if there was not, again, collusion between the U.S. military and the police. Again, and that's CNN. That's not me saying. That's what the CNN has just said. So I'm just reiterating it. Some had driven to the Capitol days earlier. Others had filled. That's deep balkanization. Fearing for their safety. Days after the attack, even as security reinforcements arrived, some lawmakers tell CNN now they fear for their safety. Well, yeah, of course you fear for your safety. They tried to fucking kill you. Are you kidding me? Of course you fear for your safety. While some Republicans argued President Donald Trump's unprecedented second impeachment will only inflame divisions, federal officials warned that extremists, after seeing the result of last week's attack on the U.S. Capitol, are now likely more emboldened to carry out attacks on the January 20th inauguration and throughout 2021. Of course they are, because they fucking succeeded. So, members of the National Guard stand outside the Capitol January 14, 2021. So yes, now you have the National Guard out there. What? You know what's so interesting, huh? You know what else was revealed in the Black Lives Matter action? The Black Lives Matter was really, in a certain sense, now it was a serious, actual, massive 30 million person action, 30 plus million people. The biggest uprising revolt really in the history of America for Black life, which is the most oppressed people, as admitted by Ho Chi Minh. Vietnamese are horrifically oppressed. But he said that Ho Chi Minh, the black people in the world, are the most oppressed, and they are the most oppressed in the United States. And the Black Lives Matter had a huge revolt for their lives, stop their incarceration, stop the racism, stop the killing by white supremacist America, in uniform, in the cops, and out of uniform in just racist America, and all the Karens that call the cops. But what other thing the Black Lives Matter revealed is that inside of America, the National Guard, like the police, were definitely beating up, gassing, attacking Black Lives Matter. When the National Guard was rolled out, the National Guard had was less directly violent to the Black Lives Matter protesters. And a lot of them were black, and a lot of them were not really. They were just like, because National Guard, people that are coming on a weekend for training. Is it 2 weekends a month? I can't remember what it is. 2 weekends a month. They come for training. They do get military training. They get weapons training. They get military training. And then they're supposed to respond in times of disaster. You've got tornado, hurricane, big chaotic blackouts, or big unrest. National Guard, but they're not police. They're not like a regular police department who are doing what? Regularly beating, mass incarcerating, and murdering black people. These people they're basically Krugers. America's police department is a bunch of fucking slave catcher, N-word. I love killing me some N-words, basically. A lot of them. Breaking legs. They love doing violence, that's for sure. There's been a lot of expose on how America's police departments are kind of like unhinged, like sociopathic, fucking violence-craving murderers, and kind of really sick, depraved individuals. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of them are. 40% of them are abusers of their own wives and family, domestic abusers. 2 out of 5 New Yorkers have been raped or assaulted or sexually assaulted by a police department. 2 out of 5 New Yorkers. That's a lot of fucking. It's like 1% of the less than 1% of the population is police. That means like every cop is touched. I don't know. It's like not every cop, but like that's like 40 sexual assaults or rapes for each cop, or more, by my calculation. But the National Guard came out, and the National Guard was less. They were more neutral. They said it was a calming effect in California. When the National Guard came out, they're not used to they don't go around and just like beat up and kill and mass incarcerate and kneel on the necks of black people all day long. Like Chauvin, people who have $1 million pensions, people who are not actually being incarcerated, people who routinely get off scot-free for killing and mass incarcerating innocent people. That is coming home to roost too, America. Your sick fucking depraved police department are coming home for you. And the National Guard are being deployed because the National Guard were shown in these circumstances to be a force that was more neutral. They're not necessarily gonna not take. They're not gonna not tear gas Black Lives Matter. They're not gonna not shoot them with rubber bullets, but they're not gonna immediately go jump to such huge levels of violence like the police departments will in the United States, right? And so the National Guard was deployed, and so it makes sense that the National Guard, which is a more neutral force, is being deployed kind of as a wall between It's kind of like a wall between the United States police and the military, which you cannot know who. Again, QAnon is Navy. The woman who was shot, who was also a MAGA Trump supporter, coming to the Capitol to possibly kidnap and possibly kill American federal politicians, was ex-Air Force and police. Many military. So you don't know who in the military. Again, it's like that. It's the same problem as riding with Senator Andronica in Bolivia. You don't know if this military soldier is there to kill you, or if they're just pretending to be nice, and then when you drive by and then they come to your house later and then they put a gun to the back of your fucking head. They say, you're coming with us, you're going in a cell for years, so we need to use you for leverage. You don't know. That's why it's not. But National Guard has been shown there's less far-right QAnon and Trump infiltration of the National Guard, or at least that's what they think, and so they're being rolled out. And also, obviously, the military is not trained for domestic, and they're not supposed to be used for. There's also that they're not being trained and used for domestic response, blah 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 blah. National Guard is trained and is used more, not all the time, but obviously is used in deployment inside of the the CONUS, or the continental United States, or inside of the territory of the United States. But part of this is the federal government, the corporate class, the neoliberal class, the liberal class, the conservative, the grand old party business elite, right? Ends of the spectrum. They don't know who they can trust within the military. They don't know who they can trust within the police. They are scared. They don't know who they can trust within the Congress. There were like I said, the reports of literal some of the QAnon sympathizers. There were reports that some of them might have been planning to attack their fellow Congress people in the Capitol building themselves. So they don't know who they can trust. There's already a schism. There's already America's already a broken government. It's already broken. Now how but again, it's a spectrum, kind of like from socialism from capitalism and feudalism and just like the most extreme exploitative system of ultra capitalism, colonialism, imperialism, or capitalism to socialism, and then finally communism. It's a spectrum. It's not like you go from one day you're just like working for pennies a second in a sweatshop, being fed dog food for dinner, and the next day you're liberated in a stateless classes money society, and everybody's in Star Trek fully automated luxury gay space communism, and we're just flying around 3D printing out all of the plant meat burgers and exploring the space and doing all of the art and poetry and just playing Among Us all day long or whatever we want. No, it's a spectrum and a movement along a continuum of realities, and coups and balkanization and civil wars are like that too. So where America is along the continuum of possibly, hopefully not full fascism like Nazi Germany, but kinda, where it is along the continuum from it never really was on a functioning fucking government of any kind or functioning democracy, let alone functioning democracy. But America is definitely deeply along the line of broken, balkanizing, fractured country with no real strong central legitimate government, like Venezuela, like it did to Venezuela, like Bolivia, what it did to Bolivia. Like, this is not a mystery. This happens around the world. You can read it. People, and the thing is, Americans and Westerners read about it, but because of Western exceptionalism, because of white exceptionalism, because of American exceptionalism, people think, oh, that doesn't happen here. That's the thing that happens. No. It only happens that's what CNN, MSNBC saying, this doesn't happen in America. This only happens in tin pot dictatorships. In Venezuela, in Chile, in Africa, in the Middle East, in countries where we go and install them. The truth is, but now Americans, this is another important piece of education for the United States of America. It can happen in the most powerful country on the face of planet Earth. The supposed light on the hill of freedom, of expression, you don't have that. Never did, but now officially you don't. Like I've talked about that with Donald Trump's banning and the right-wing banning. Leftists have always been banned, but you've kind of buried that. But now you've banned the president of the United States, and freedom of expression doesn't exist in the United Corporation. It is government censorship because the corporations, Twitter, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, are the corporations of America that banned Donald Trump, are the government of America. It's a corporatocracy. You don't have freedom of expression. You don't have freedom of speech. You don't have a constitution. Like, how many times have I said America doesn't have a constitution? It wipes its ass with the constitution every day. And then it sets it on fire and throws it in a pit with all the dead black and brown bodies that were putting out California's wildfires, right? How many times have I said that? Now America has always been that. It's always been a fascist country. Now it's revealing that. It doesn't have a freedom of expression or amendment or rights to, assembly and press. Black Lives Matter showed that. It doesn't have democracy. Even within its own shitty broken democracy, it has shown that it has literally had a treasonous coup to undo election, as crappy as it was, with a fascist leader. America doesn't have democracy. It doesn't have freedom of expression. It doesn't have a constitution. People don't have rights. Not black, indigenous people and people on the left have suffered this a lot, but now everybody knows because it's happening to white people. Scared white liberals and Nancy Pelosi. Oh my God, they come and move me. This is fascism. you do fascism all the time, but now the world knows who you are. You know? So, you know, and I said at the beginning of 2020, rest in peace, United States, 1776 to 2020. This is who it's always been. You know? No democracy, no rule of law. I mean, Donald Trump and everybody, the corporations, you look close enough, it's a plutocracy. Even the Chinese and the Europeans, everybody knows this. It's like, what are you doing there? You're like, people are dying on the street and you're giving billions of dollars to the richest. You're giving $6 trillion. No, there's no rule of law. There's no equality. What? Equality, liberty, fraternity, freedom and justice for all. With no equality. It's the most unequal country on the planet. No freedom. Your freedom, what, to go to prison? The biggest prison, fucking 4% of the world's population, 25% of the world's prison population? No. Justice? Are you kidding me? No justice, no peace? This is why America won't have any fucking peace, because there's no motherfucking justice. Ever. Till there isn't in America. Freedom and justice for all. Liberty, what the fuck does that even mean? Except now it just means libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, neo-feudal people sitting in giant hedge funds trying to pay the cops to not kill them. And failing, apparently. Oh, please, don't kill me. I'm sorry I didn't pay you enough. I'm Mike Pence and I'm fucking Nancy Pelosi. Take $1 million and go away. Don't kill me. Freedom, justice, rule of law. What? Democracy, Western liberal democracy? No. Nothing. All gone. Facade completely gone. Everybody else looking kind of shaking their head. It's like you know, this is like Vietnam and China and fucking like, you know, Cuba and Iran, just like SMH. You know, all right, let's do business and like let's trade and not bomb each other for a little bit. You know, let's not bomb each other and like do business and mutually empower each other with the thing is, it's gonna be fully automated luxury space, non-white, brown and liberated indigenous and brown and Asian and African communism. It's not going to be Western. The West is not going to be there. That's the funny thing, is Star Trek is full of white people and there's some black and brown people, but it's not going to be Captain Kirk. You know, Star Trek Voyager is actually a little bit like the most recent Star Trek. Was it Discovery? We got a black captain and then a Chinese captain. That's what it's going to look like. Because that's what they're right now. They're going, you know, we're not perfect, but I mean, you know, we're not fucking literally having fascist coups, bombing the planet into death and smithereens, killing every attempt at socialism on the face of planet Earth, even just attempt to get away from capitalism. We're not doing that, but that's what America's doing, and that's what all of its allies are helping it, including Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and all of Europe. Now, Europe is trying to move away from that, but Europe is still benefiting from colonialism, and we'll see how Europe does. They have a lot to pay for. But they're looking at America. They're going like, you know, good luck. We're not gonna build any Chinese. We could build enough hospitals to. China builds enough hospitals to heal their entire country like in 2 weeks. They could build like all of America. They could give every American as much healthcare as they needed pretty quickly. I have confidence. They'd make 80% of all their meds and all their products that they use in there. China could come in and save America probably, but it's like, how am I gonna come into America when you're fucking literally calling us Wuhan flu, and you're having Asians are being beaten in the street by your white supremacists and just random white people just being Asian, not even white supremacists, just like liberal and conservative attacking us. Shaking my head over here. Shaking my head. You know, the rest of the world over there going like, I mean, we'll keep sending you products. We're not gonna treat you the way that you treat us. We'll keep sending you millions of masks and antibiotics and all the things you need to keep going. And you know, it does help us. We're doing some business, but it would be great if you stop being so fucking racist. And so Biden, we'll see how Biden is with us. But ultimately, it's America is just gonna like, you're gonna have to sort this shit out. But we're not gonna come in and really be able to do much. You know, we support indigenous people and we don't ban them off of our TikTok, unlike Twitter and Facebook. Instagram just deleted 20 indigenous accounts making beadwork. Just deleted their accounts for no reason. Just you know, YouTube wiped the surf. The surf's got the channel back. Good job, but Also, why the fuck did they get their channel fucking deleted? I haven't noticed my indigenous friends and relatives being deleted off TikTok or Mastodon. You know, it's like, you know, you're gonna have to stop with this. You gotta stop with this superpower and just attacking and this violence and this racism and this xenophobia. I mean, the rest of the world too. Europe is over there going like, America, we can't work. Europe just did a huge deal with China, and they did big deals with Iran. They're going around American sanctions. Like, America, you got to get your motherfucking head screwed on straight, because we can't really be dealing with this literal fucking Nazis in your White House. Your wars, your plutocracy, you just racism. You're just uncontrolled, disgusting levels of capitalist excess. You're collapsing fucking economy. You're collapsing healthcare system. You know, like, we have to try to, like, you know, Europe's got its own fucking problems. Like I said, they got their own racism. They got their own selfishness. They got their own, you know. But they can see their fucking, the way that the world is shifting. They're moving away. They know that the world is not going to be a Western-dominated world. Now, I hope that it doesn't become a more reactionary world under the new leadership, right? I hope that it continues to move in a direction of socialism. It's possible that it won't. I'm not saying that it won't. But it's definitely moving away from the United States. Very fast. Moving away from the United States. Which can't lead it. It can't fucking keep its goddamn government together. You are not going to lead anything, America. What, you got to have the goddamn National Guard come out to defend the Congress of the United States. You got your own people being let into your own capital to chop the head off of Mike fucking Pence, the vice president. That's a Republican vice president. That guy is not exactly a beacon of leftism and even liberal, liberal progressivity. That guy is a goddamn, far-right Christian too. And he's treasonous. And you gotta have the National Guard come out to defend that. People taking a shit on stealing paintings and the Declaration of Independence from your goddamn Capitol building? What the fuck? You're not leading anything. I'm sorry, America. You're not leading anything. I mean, we're gonna do so. I don't even know, who do I talk to? Am I talking to Donald Trump's Secretary of State? Am I gonna what? I'm gonna make deal with the fucking gangster? Who do I talk to? Biden's Secretary of the Economic Leaders and Advisors? Who the fuck am I talking to? I don't even know. Where is the Capitol? Where is the Congress right now? I don't even know. They don't even know. They're all fearing for their goddamn life. Like, and that's not me being right. That's not some silver spoon Hawaiian pissed off at the empire. That's CNN going, the Congress is fucking fearing for their life. That's they don't want us. They don't want to put this on the fucking front page. This is not the leftist Cuban Revolutionary Party of Vietnam. The Cuban Vietnamese joint statement. This is the journal of record of the empire. This is embarrassing. Federal law enforcement agencies issued internal FBI bulletin disseminated law enforcement this week warned that armed protests are being planned in all 50 state capitals and Washington in the days leading up to Biden swearing in. Please, again, do not go to the Capitol. Do not participate in any violent. Do not do anything illegal. Definitely don't participate in any violent activity. I'm not saying that no way should this be misconstrued. I'm saying that this is, and everybody knows this. I'm not saying something new. I don't think. Left, right, and center. Everybody's kind of saying the same, but we need to. I gotta be going very shortly. I'm gonna jump through this real quick. But there are armed protests being planned in all 50 state capitals. So please be careful. Stay away from capitals. Don't go near any state capitals. The days leading up to Biden swearing in. I mean, any of these days, for the next week, basically. Federal law enforcement agencies issued urgent bulletins calling for assistance securing nation's capital, which now bristles with roadblocks, steel barriers to wall off the people's house, and will host as many as 25,000 National Guard. 25,000. That's much bigger than there was 10 to 15,000 last week. Now it's 25,000. Stronger military footprint than the U.S. has in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria combined. Holy shit. Well, on the ground, obviously they do a lot of bombing and stuff, but troops on the ground. 25,000. That's a lot of people. By Friday, the FBI had received 140,000 digital tips regarding the attack, include 140,000. That's a lot of fucking tips. Including photos and video, federal officials had opened 275 criminal investigations, charged roughly 98 individuals, and taking 100 individuals into custody. Okay, well, I mean, there were thousands of attackers of the Capitol. There were thousands. Are you taking 100? What does that tell you? What does that tell? And how long are they going to spend in prison? What are the punishment going to be? I mean, unclear. Unclear. I mean, cops in America, this is another thing. Cops in America don't get punished. Remember? Cops that kill black people, cops that kill innocent people, cops that beat and commit crimes, they don't suffer they don't barely less than 10% even get prosecuted, if that. And almost zero, or like 0.2% or something ever get actually punished. And it's nothing like a big 30-year sentence. I mean, it's usually like slap on the wrist kind of stuff, if that. So what does that mean? And you've only taken 100 into custody, and there are thousands. What it says is that the United States police are not gonna. They have solidarity with their own. They have solidarity with Trump supporters and the coup, Capitol rioters, the treasonous Capitol attempt to overthrow the United States government. That means that you have big police and military. So that's not good. That is not good. That's not good. A senior, like some people have lost jobs, and some people, but Derek Chauvin has $1 million pension. The Kenosha shooter got millions of dollars for shooting Black Lives Matter and their supporters and killing them. This is all coming home to roost, motherfucker. I'm sorry, that's just what it is. You want to let fascists, murderers in uniform and in plain clothes, like the Kenosha shooter, like U.S. police, get away with killing and murdering and just complete lawlessness and brutality? This is what happens. This is what happens, Donnie. This is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass. This is what happens when you fuck colonized people and black and indigenous people and leftists in the ass. This is what happens. This is what happens, Donnie. This is what happens. Now they don't want to follow the billionaires and the millionaires and the politicians and all the lawyers. Oh no. This is what happens. I mean, I really hope that nothing really terrible happens at the Capitol. I hope that my birthday is just a nice little birthday stream and nothing happens. That'll be really amazing. But this does not bode well. That I'm not gonna lie. That's terrible. That's just terrible. But not unexpected. If you were paying attention to what the police have been doing and what's been happening in the United States for this year, 10 years, and the last 100, 250 years. As senior administration leaders who would normally take the lead remain silent for days, including the heads of the Justice Department, the Department of Homeland Security, and the President himself, federal officials launched the most extensive counterterrorism probe since September 11th, 2001, and continued planning to fortify Washington. Oh, so now white nationalism is terrorism. Oh, I thought it was just black identity with 330,000 pages of FBI dossiers and files on literal just black people being black people. That's terrorism. Black identity. Remember I said black identity is terrorism? Being black is a crime in the United States. Literally, the FBI has 330,000 documents or pages of document on investigating black people who identify as black people. Oh, but now you want to investigate white nationalism and white supremacy, FBI. Oh, it's a little too late. Kind of like Twitter, Facebook, the neoliberal elite, the corporations, the Republicans, the Democrats, all of the powers in the United States. A little too late. Little too late, FBI. Little too late, Homeland Security. Now you want to do some white supremacy counterterrorism? Little bit late. Our posture is aggressive. He's going to stay that way through the inauguration. FBI Director Christopher Wray said at Thursday briefing on inauguration security. He added that the agency was monitoring extensive online chatter about further potential armed protests and issued a warning to the men and women who wreaked havoc on the Capitol. We know who you are if you're out there, Wray said, and FBI agents are coming to find you. So, I mean, sounds good, but again, this is part of what Donald Trump's his with the whole separate, the FBI and the intelligence agencies and the courts and the government just being split, fighting over his impeachment and the trials, all the litigation and trying to get rid of him and all of the corruption, and there were a lot of splits and fragmentations there, and those fragmentations haven't just gone away because Joe Biden becomes president. America doesn't just let's just go back to how it was in 2016. No, It wasn't good in 2016, and also all those fragmentations are still there, and they're still coming back to bite. And you know, like, I mean, again, I'm sure I am sure that the FBI and the elements of the United States that are siding with Biden's administration against Trump are gonna do as best as they can, right? But you know, but it's just the question is like, what is the power of the anti-Biden and the pro-Trump versus the not necessarily pro-Trump but against the establishment and radical enough. You know, it's like this is going to be a test for the United States. The domestic terrorist struck at the time when the U.S. government is confronting the worst known cyber attack by a foreign adversary in its history, with Russia suspected of penetrating hundreds of businesses and numerous federal agencies. The bloodshed and destruction come as COVID-19 claims record daily. I mean, I don't know specifically what they're referring to with that, but I mean, you might want to think about stop Russiagating and start taking responsibility for what you've done to the United States. You know, if Biden came out and said, like I said, if the U.S. government, the neoliberal class came out and said, you know what, we're sorry, we fucked you over for the last 40 years of neoliberalism. We're gonna try to make right. We're gonna rein in the billionaires. We're gonna give you $20 minimum wage, $25, a motherfucking living wage, please. 27 is what some people are saying. 24, 27, 30. That's what it is. We're gonna rein in the banking system. We're gonna reduce your housing costs. We're gonna stop these broken, huge real estate cartels that are jacking up the prices in all of our cities and places where we have jobs. We're gonna deal with COVID-19. We're sorry, we fucked up big time. We, the neoliberals, we, the Democrats, we, the liberals, we are gonna try to make right. We're gonna do our best to make. I mean, that might be something, but this whole we're gonna just heal and we're gonna move forward. That's not gonna do shit. The domestic terrorists, you know, we're gonna keep blaming Russia. This is why people hate, even people that are not necessarily Republicans and Democrats. You know, they voted for Trump, and they support not necessarily Trump, but what he represents as a Molotov cocktail to the establishment, is because the U.S. fucking empire and the U.S. neoliberal and Democrats and some Republicans couldn't come clean with what they've done, which is screw everybody over for the last 40 years inside the United States. I mean, you know, as bourgeois as a lot of it is, it's still like their life expectancy has gone down. Everything has gone down. Everything that Bernie Sanders and a lot of the socialists and everybody before, we know these numbers, the deaths of despair and all this stuff. And it doesn't just go away because you got a Biden in. No, this ain't gonna. If you really wanted to tamp this down, again, that's what you would do. You'd give everybody what they need, and then they might maybe think about going home. But definitely not blaming Russians some more for everything that's gone wrong, which is what the liberals continue to insist is what has happened. Not a good plan. There's bloodshed and destruction coming. The COVID-19 claims daily record death tolls. Job crisis is brewing with nearly 1 million people filing for unemployment benefits for the first time last week. Insurrection fueled by Trump. Lies about his definitive election loss exposed the reach of baseless conspiracy theories that have radicalized Americans to the point that they laid siege to their own capital. You know what? Liberal media, you might want to stop using conspiracy theories, and then you might not be calling the kettle black. You know, like stop blaming everything on the Russians. Just be like, you know what? We fucked up big time. Don't blame it all on the Chinese. You know, you go to because then you say this kind of shit and nobody believes it because they're like, you guys have done the same fucking thing. Why the fuck are we gonna? You know, just because you don't have literal people with swastikas, if you really want to gain support, fucking come clean. But they're not coming clean. Not yet. I mean, maybe some people are. I mean, they're you know, they're doing some things. They're like finally following basic hate speech rules on Twitter. They're finally enforcing a couple of laws, doing a little counterterrorism against white supremacy. You're still not getting to the core of what is broken in America. And that's good. This is gonna come back. You know, this is not good. Now obviously the conspiracy theories are fucked up. These are conspiracy theories. QAnon, this is all this, the 5G. This is obviously horrific conspiracy theory, right? But you also need to start going. We the liberal media, we the neoliberal media, we the corporate media, we won't do conspiracy theories. We won't lie and have baseless claims and stuff. We can't do that. How are you going to sell fucking bombs to go blow up the rest of the world with the ASPI in Australia and all the yoga leftist arms dealers? So anyway, this is unfortunately, this is just gonna I don't know. We're just gonna see how this is all gonna pan out. Oh, this is a long ass article. I'm not gonna read the whole fucking thing. You can go read this whole article on CNN. I mean, it's just, you know, this is just like common everywhere. You can probably find this almost anywhere. But this is a CNN article. The events of that day raised questions about intelligence failures. Military is lethargic response. Military's intelligence failures. Intelligence collusion. The military's lethargic response. The military's collusion with white supremacist, fascist, Donald Trump supporters to overthrow the United States federal government. The military's lethargic response as panicked lawmakers pleaded by telephone for help and law enforcement's potential blind spots or willful ignorance about the dangers posed by white supremacists and white ring nativists. Ah, America. The land that cried white supremacy. The white supremacist land that cried white supremacy. Law enforcement's collusion with white supremacy, and some of those who burn forces are the same that some of those who work forces are the same that burn crosses. And the force workers burned them some crosses and some White House. Those groups formed a combustible mix with the anti-Semites and QAnon conspiracists, rampaging on July 6th to create an existential crisis for the Republican Party, which faces the choice of remaining enthralled to Trump and his more toxic supporters or breaking away. Creates a challenge for the larger country as well, according to CNN senior political analyst Ron Brownstein, who said the trajectory of Trump's white nationalist extremism has been very clear in the last 4 years, as are the potential costs to the U.S. security if it left unchecked. President Trump has provided an enormous amount of oxygen to this very dangerous ideology. No shit, and so have you by giving Trump billions of dollars worth of coverage in 2015 and 16. You fucking idiots. Anyways, you greedy motherfuckers. Brownstein told Jake Tapper on Thursday, unless everyone involved, the Justice Department, law enforcement, Congress is very serious about imposing consequences and taking the threat seriously. This could become a steady drumbeat through the Biden presidency. Oh yes. Oh yes. The question is, can we more broadly set a signal that we are not going to tolerate and look the other way as this metastasizes? It's already metastasized. You need fucking chemotherapy, and you unfortunately can't do that because you're still too fucking white supremacists and capitalists to fucking pull your head out of your ass. You already got metastasized fucking Trump cancer. I'm sorry. Ideologically motivated violence, but I mean, try your best. Already thousands of armed pro-Trump extremists are plotting to surround the Capitol and Biden's inauguration. According to a lawmaker briefed by security officials Monday, a joint U.S. government intelligence bulletin said January 6th attack meant to disrupt the certificate of Biden's victory may have given extremists the differing ideological stripes a way to connect. The bulletin warned that the insurrection is very likely a part of an ongoing trend in which extremists exploit lawful protests, rallies, and demonstrations and other gatherings to carry out ideologically motivated violence and criminal activity. Multiple defense officials have told CNN that the National Guard and law enforcement expect explosives like pipe bombs and Molotov cocktails to be used in any coming unrest. They are assuming perpetrators will come with high aggression. And one senior defense official who added their intentions are very serious. Well, kind of sounds like Venezuela. Far-right pipe bombs, setting fire to things, Molotovs, burning people. Oh, also like in Hong Kong. Setting people on fire, burning people, throwing acid on people, pipe bombs, blowing up trucks, attacking people. Oh yeah, kind of like what America backs all around the fucking world. Pipe bombs that could have done serious damage were planted outside the Republican and Democratic Party headquarters, but didn't go off. The expertise behind the bombs and the ease with which the raucous crowd seemed to mill about the Capitol complex with little resistance raised concern that participants had insider help and military expertise. Yes. Yes. Many of your Capitol Hill rioters have, and their deep networks of backers have military coup training. I already brought that up, so I'm going to stop there. But yes, at every level of the U.S. government, unfortunately for you. At least 2 U.S. Capitol Police officers were suspended, and at least 10 more are under investigation, are allegedly playing some role in the violence. Michael Serwin, the acting U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C., confirmed Friday that we're seeing indications that law enforcement officers, both former and current, maybe who have been put off duty, are participating in this riot activity. We don't care that you are, what your profession is, who you are affiliated with. If you're conducting or engaging in criminal activity, we will charge you and you will be arrested. It's funny, you know, less than 1% of cops that do any criminal activity ever get arrested. Now, it would be interesting if the loyalty to the billionaire and the corporate class in the police is stronger, is strong enough. Obviously, they don't give a shit about leftists and black people, right? And they're being paid to beat up workers and workers and people of color, right? But it will be interesting to see police, military, the police. This is a police departments, and the politician, neoliberal establishment, the intelligentsia, and the corporate elite. Where are the splits there? Republican, and there's white supremacists, and then elements of the military, elements of the police, and it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of cold civil war, what's kind of lukewarm civil war really, is going to heat up, because they've already, like, that attack, that was is a kind of a declaration of a civil war in a certain sense, and people did already die there. So I'm not going to continue for the rest of this part of the. Well, let me just read this one little bit. Part of this hunt is for several people possibly involved in the killing of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick. According to 2 law enforcement officials on Friday, Stephen Antonio of FBI's Washington field office said his investigators are making progress on the investigation and are looking at anyone and everyone who may be involved. He didn't give specifics, but in the days after the attack, court records and new reports also confirmed that current and former U.S. military members participated. Yes. So again, there's a lot more, but I mean, the main thing is. Again, this is being taken very seriously by the highest powers of the United States. It is not for the left, and not for people of color, and not for people who Black Lives Matter. And somebody said, why isn't Antifa out there? Because we're not. Antifa is about protecting the masses and people from fascists, not for protecting imperial mask-on fascists from fascists and police. It's not, it's not protecting the United States reactionary fucking capitalist government from police, right? So that's why they weren't there, and that's why nobody should be out there. If they are out there, as Black Red Guard has brought up, there will be instant solidarity between the police and military that are attacking, and the police and military that are defending, and they will have solidarity against you, anti-fascist, Black Lives Matter, etc. So definitely don't go out there. There's no reason to be out there. It's very dangerous. Let them do whatever they're gonna do, the neo-fascists and neoliberals. All right, that's the end of this, because we gotta go to sleep very shortly. I'm just gonna do this real fast. Actually, well, before that, I'll take a look at this real fast. Yeah, time check. Yeah, 10:40. Okay, we're gonna be getting off very shortly. Okay, here we go. Thanks everybody for kind of hanging out. We gotta go early because we gotta get up early tomorrow. I will be back on Wednesday for the birthday stream, 8 p.m. Pacific time on Twitch. And also, how's it going, Slendrian and Alana Montero and Scion of Braggle and everyone else. And now we are going to be I was gonna say we're gonna raid. No, I'm Silver Spook. I make anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist cyberpunk adventure games, including Neofeud, which is this game right here. Every sale of Neofeud does go to support what we do here at the Silver Spook worker-owned cooperative, the Silver Spook commune, where we don't have bosses, we don't have landlords, and we don't have we have a cooperative ownership of the game company as well as the place in which we live, and everything we do here is supported in the Big Island of Hawaii against the imperialist capitalist state of the United States. Having a little trouble now with sales of Neofeud and on itch and on Steam. So if you have a second, if you did have a chance to play Neofeud and you have a second to leave even a very short review, it is greatly appreciated. It does increase the probability that the all-powerful algorithm, which obviously corporations have control over, but they don't increase the visibility of your game unless you have a lot of reviews, kind of like comments on a YouTube video or chat in a Twitch stream or YouTube stream. It really does help if you leave a review of the game. It is a game that is like Disco Elysium but cyberpunk. It's a game about oppression of minorities. It involves the illegal shooting of a minority by police, and it deals with sentient humanoid machines, and a social worker for homeless robots takes on a cabal of billionaire trillionaires living in floating neo-feudal palaces above an endless wasteland of sprawl and landfill in a kind of satirical Terry Gilliam or Monty Python, Taika Waititi sort of humorous point-and-click adventure game. I don't know if that was the best description I've ever given of it, but I don't always know how to describe it. But anyway, that's Neofeud. If you have a second to leave a review, again, leave a review. If not, that's okay. If you don't have Windows, you have Mac or Linux, you can also get Neofeud for Mac and Linux on itch.io. You can also get it DRM free if you don't like digital rights management for whatever reason. You don't like Steam for whatever reason. You can also support us at patreon.com/Neofeud. It is a place where you can give us some support if you don't want to you don't want to buy video games and stuff like this. I think there should be a stream, some kind of donate link in the video's description. If not, I'm gonna go try to add it. And so you can also follow on at SilverSpook Games at Octodon.social on Mastodon. Mastodon is a federated, non-capitalist controlled, decentralized social media platform. It's very anarchistic in that way. And it's a platform that, again, doesn't have a billionaire at the top of a massive U.S. corporation that works with the U.S. military and intelligence community and deletes people's accounts for saying Breonna Taylor's name by 3,000, wipes off indigenous people's, shadow bans indigenous people from the internet when they protest pipelines and, for example, mega projects on our sacred mountain Mauna Kea here in Hawaii, which I've experienced. And so I highly recommend getting a Mastodon, especially now because what has been done to the right wing and Trump will happen to everybody. Right? It's like, this is going to happen sooner or later to everybody. To me too, I'm sure at some point. Hopefully later, but that's why I recommend everybody get a Mastodon. Just get one. Follow your friends. Tell everybody you know to get one. That way, if you're actually doing a lot of practice, you're going to get your thing. If you're doing anything serious enough against global imperial capitalism and you're doing anything really serious enough, you're going to get your account shadow banned or deleted. So get a Mastodon now before you get deleted. Get all your friends to follow you. And Signal has also been bought out by the U.S. government and corporations, which are the same thing. It is now being centralized and it's not secure at all. So you gotta watch out for that. I just recently discovered that. All communications networks are being attempted to be infiltrated. It's gonna be hard with Mastodon because of how decentralized it is. And so really, I highly recommend getting it. I really, especially now, definitely get a Mastodon if you have not yet for whatever reason. Okay. You can also, as long as I have one, you can follow at SilverSpookGuy on Twitter, which has bigger reach, and it's a site that I post like my personal comments and stuff like this. You can also follow at SilverSpook Games, which is mostly game-related stuff, and you can also, like Neofeud 2, what I'm currently working on. Here's a screenshot from Neofeud 2, the sequel to Neofeud, my cyberpunk adventure game. And you can also follow Terminus Cyberstar, which is a 3D cyberpunk anti-capitalist, a 3D low-poly cyberpunk immersive sim in the vein of late 90s PC games like Deus Ex 1 and System Shock 2. It's a game that is being created by myself and a handful of creators of 5 or 6. I'm the kind of content designer, the lead writer / game designer. And then there are a handful of 2D, 3D artists, level designers, programmers, and musicians that are working on this. It is due out sometime in early 2021, so February or March is the estimated. We don't have an official hard release date yet, but that's kind of what we're aiming for. It is the sequel to Terminus Machina. It is definitely politically relevant cyberpunk. I would call it, it's like I would call it, it's Terminus Machina was pretty much like radical left cyberpunk, I would say. And I would kind of call this has a lot of deeply critical elements of that. Critical elements of capitalism, and racism. The main character is a literal escapee from a concentration camp, and is now running from ICE. So you're playing an immigrant, basically a Hispanic migrant, but in a science fictional world. You're basically playing the equivalent of a Hispanic migrant in the U.S. running away from the police and ICE. Living in homeless. You're homeless in the beginning, and if the cops catch you, you're basically back in the concentration camp. So yeah, this is for real. Terminus Machina is a very dark world, but it's a very it's hopefully illuminating and fun. I don't want to make it boring. I want to make it interesting and fun as well. And I want it to really be a game that speaks to the crises and possibilities of our current economic and political reality, which is what I think Cyberpunk is supposed to do. So, Neofeud and Terminus Cyberstar. Finally, you can also follow the Terminus Cyberstar Discord, the Silver Spook Discord, and you can also follow. I can also thank all of these people right here: James Wheaton, Dave, Mixilla, Mr. Brewer, Bill and Dan Taylor, Kiara Capovera, Christian T, Industrial Robot, Johnny C, Alana Montero. Hey, Alana Montero in the chat. Thanks a lot for stopping in there. From so-called Australia, Sean Conlan, Danny Carroll, Eric Wright, J.R. Morgan, Swampcroft, The Reaver, Tyler Todd Hill, Right 455, Matthew Stone, Alexander Roy Gaberhouse, Alfonso Delazar, Combo Breaker, Mark, Lark, Muriel, Skylar Smith, Tim, Kabuterzerx, Ralph, Tiny Earl, Control.org, and Extremely Online Left, Ted, and Shirlington B. Scott. Thanks a lot for you guys' continued support. It is very much appreciated. And sorry, I'm kind of rushing because we got to get off here sooner than later. But yes, let me check out the chat one last time. One time. There you go. There's the Ko-Fi link. Thanks a lot, David Guy. Take it easy, Alana, Anti-American, Slendrin, and thanks a lot, Holly, for always important moderating in chief, moderating care work, which is always necessary and beneficial to our community. So, thanks a lot, and until next time, keep your shades polished, be excellent to each other, be careful, and SMH. I'm just native Hawaiian shaking my head over here, watching America with my blast shield and my giant lead wall in case America accidentally shoots some nukes. Please don't. Take it